Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the grand finals of AoE4 Pro League. $20,000 on the line in this 3v3 team game tournament, and we have probably the best two teams in the tournament right now with Recon, the Muslim, and the Beastie Cutie and the Straboras versus Vortex, Lucifron, and the Mista in the grand finals. Absolute juggernauts when it comes to individual skill, and that translated in the team game battlefield as well.
Yeah, we've got ourselves a bit of a mirror match today. And spawning in down on the south side, we've got Recon's team. Recon spawning in on the pocket, playing the French up towards his northern flank. Playing on the Mongols, we've got Beastie Cutie. And then down towards the western side, we've got the Muslim on the Rus. Who's on the opposite side of the map, Lidicor?
In the pocket, we will have Vortex playing as the Rus in green. To the left of him, Lucifron playing as the teal French, and on the right side, we are going to have the Mista playing as the Mongols in purple. So the first thing that we'll have to note is that the two Mongol players are on the same side, and the other is that you will have a French pocket for Recon's team and a French flank for Lucifron's team. So you see the difference in the two approaches. Recon's team wants to have their melee cavalry civilization in the pocket, whereas on the other side, Vortex's team prefers to have the Rus player that's going for the fast castle being in the safer central position.
Yeah, this is very curious. Typically, at least from what I've seen, we've seen a lot of French pockets. And we'll see them go for a relatively early double TC, about 9 or 10 minutes, something like that. But yeah, this game, it doesn't seem like we're going to be spotting that out. We're going to obviously have the pocket player Vortex here on the Rus. Do you think that's a somewhat standard thing that we would see, or not really?
I think it's more about the Rus here. It's not necessarily about Vortex being the pocket player himself. It's more about having the Rus being positioned in between the two players. I can see that being a thing, especially if you're afraid of Mongol tower rushes hurting your Rus player, because in this civilization matchup, your most important civilization is most likely the Rus. You really need to make sure that he's able to get the good horse archer numbers, because without that, you're going to have a very difficult time. Obviously, there is a drawback of that, and that is going to be that the French player's gold mine is very exposed. This is especially troublesome if the French player is up against the Mongols, which is not the case for this game. But as you see, Lucifron's gold mine is heavily exposed here to any kind of aggression, so that's the trade-off that you're taking. Your Rus player is going to be safer, but your French player has a much harder time accessing gold once aggression comes in.
Yeah, I would expect that we might even see an outpost or two up on this gold mine from him. Very fortunately, though, the Mista has spawned on the same side as the Mongols. Because I tell you what, I feel like if the Muslim had spawned on the same side as Mista, then he might be in for a bit of a hard time. As you mentioned before this game started, typically what we see is Mista actually goes for a bit of a 1v1 within the 3v3. So he'll try and isolate his respective flank. And in this game, his flank is going to be Beastie playing the Mongols. So he's probably going to be in a relatively fair matchup, I'd say, there. But yeah, the difficult spot for the Muslim would be that if he was up against that Mongol pressure. But it doesn't seem like it will be that case or that way today. And instead, just going to be going up against the French player to the north of his position.
Mista is going for an early pasture over here. This is something that he often does, and he does have a killer fast castle build. I'm curious to see if he's going to pop that. He's currently free on gold, everyone else on the sheep. Usually when he does that build, his Ovu is closer to his town center, so his pasture is going to be buffed by the Ovu. It's not the case over here, but still, early pasture is a sign that he's not going to go for a ton of early aggression. Meanwhile, on the other side, Lucifron's got the School of Cavalry coming in, and on the opposing side, of course, School of Cavalry as well from Recon. No surprise on that department.
Yes, I remember, I think there's only been one game I've ever seen where a player didn't go the School of Cavalry on a land map, and it was Viper. And he went to Chamber of Commerce, and he started trading at like 5 minutes. I'm like, what is going on here? This is absolutely wild. I think actually we've seen it in a couple of team games now that I think about it. I remember early on in the Pro League, we did actually see the Chamber of Commerce coming out quite early. But yeah, no surprises here this late stage in the tournament where players or teams are undefeated. So these two teams, obviously, we've got Beastie and the Strelboras. They're undefeated, as well as their opponents, Lidicor.
Exactly. Looking at the bounties real quickly, which is one of the most important factors early game, the Muslim is sitting at 290, and Vortex, on the other hand, sitting at 450. So Vortex has a massive head start when it comes to collecting bounty.
Yeah, that is a big head start, and he's going to be getting up to the second age pretty quickly here as well. You can see that compared to his opponent, the Muslim, on the respective Rus player, he's ahead by a mile. It looks like he's up by about 30 seconds in advance, so a significant difference between those two players.
especially if you consider the fact that that's going to translate into a castlage difference and even a difference in professional scouts. You already see that being halfway done for Vortex. Meanwhile, on the other side, curious to see how Mista's resource bank is looking, but it looks like he's not going to have the resources for a straight fast castle over here, so it's probably going to be more about the horseman play, trying to deny the hunt of the opponent, something that he did quite often, especially if you consider the fact that Recon might also go for professional scouts here.
Yeah. Now, one of the things to also note is that with professional scouts, obviously we've got a French player on the team. We've got the Rus player on both of the teams. Could we potentially see only one player on these teams go for professional scouts?
It's a possibility, because that one player could ferry in deer to all of his teammates if needed, and especially if you only have the Rus player going for professional scouts, that leaves the French player open to start off with knight production, and you could have a nice little advantage in knight numbers. It's basically quite a significant drawback to go for pro scouts with the French, because you'll be sacrificing a lot of knights, and given how exposed Luciferon's gold mine is, for example, that could be fatal.
Yeah, and one of the things to note is that Luciferon has actually gone for professional scouts here in addition to his teammate. So Vortex has also gone for professional scouts, but looking on the opposite side of the map. So we've got professional scouts coming out at this point in time for Demuslim, but have a look towards Recon's base. He's got the mill that's sitting there, but he is nowhere near professional scouts at all.
Indeed, he's dropping the mill so that he can have some access to berries because he's running low on carcasses. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Muslim ferrying in some deer to him. And on the other side, the Mista's gonna play really aggressive over here. He's got a stable up, he's got a range coming in, he's going for the horseman, something that he loves to do. Beastie, on the other hand, opening up with the Mangadai, not something that you see every day.
Yeah, and this is going to get spotted out by Mister. He's shadowing them on the way back, so he knows that they are coming. They're heading down, so I would expect that he looks to pick those ones up before they get through. But there's not a lot of damage that can really be done here, with the exception of a few villagers that are out towards that gold mine on the back flank. So we'll have to wait and see whether Beastie looks to apply pressure to that point or whether he looks to sort of find another angle to go for.
Exactly. Beastie is on 4 Mangadai now, and there's a tower coming in, most likely because a villager is moving forward for Beastie. Knights are also coming in for Recon. It looks like Mista is going to be facing a double team here early on, but he's got the forces to repel this. Horsemen already out, and the Mangadai are just about to join the party.
Yeah, Manganai now getting chased away. We see that speed arrow coming off up towards the north here as Mister tries his best to get on top of those Manganai. Not going to have a lot of luck, and now those Knights going to be coming into screen, managing to take out one of those horsemen, and unfortunately, it looks like for Mister, he's going to have to fall back because there are way too many forces for him to deal with at this point in the game.
Exactly, doesn't have a good answer to the Knights right now. The Mangadai will do decently against them, but they still soak up a lot of arrow fire, and he's gonna be forced off from that gold mine, and the tower is also going to be delayed, so now adding additional Mangadai is gonna be troublesome because it doesn't have the gold to work with. Now, of course...
Yeah, that Ooh, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that, of course, right now he's absorbing damage from 2 players, so the other side of the map is going to be interesting to look at because currently he's being 2v1'd.
Beautiful age up time right there from Vortex, hitting the castle age before 8 minutes. And that's your benchmark. If you can get up at 8 minutes, you're doing pretty well. And it definitely seems to be a nice age up time there for Vortex. I'd be curious to see how far along Demuslim is up to the next age. He does have, how many villages is that? About 11 or 10 villages on that landmark. Abbey of the Trinity going up for him behind this. But back towards the base of Mister, his stable is under siege. Now, obviously, he's playing as the Mongols. He could pick this one up and he could move it. But the consequence of doing so would be that it may potentially just die to the Mangadai. Those things, they do a lot of damage, especially once you packed up a building. Have you seen how fast they'll shred through those buildings once they're on the move?
Yeah, the buildings, when they're on the move, they are very fragile. I've seen pastures running away, and the pastures just die in 5 seconds to any kind of units, really. Horsemen, now in decent numbers out in front of the Mangadai of Mista, and we're seeing some horse archers appear on the battlefield because, as we discussed, Vortex had a great bounty count, so he was able to get to Castle Age faster than the Muslim, already collecting relics with the first couple of warrior monks.
Yeah, he's already out and about onto the map. Plenty of archery rangers coming down. He's putting the 4th one down right now. His economy is looking really good. 15 villages on wood, 15 villages on food, so balancing it out between the two resources. And we'll take a look over at Muslim's perspective. I want to see exactly what he's up to. So he's doing the same thing, balancing out the villagers, but getting under a little bit of pressure towards the front of his base. Lucifron beginning to attack villagers. Actually going to be able to take out a villager towards the wood line. Second villager might potentially go down here as well. Indeed it does. So already a little bit of an economic advantage coming out for Beastie and the Strelboras. Actually, for their opponents, rather.
And if you think about it, this also forces the Muslim to clean up those knights first. So right now he's stuck in his base with the horse archers, and that gives a window for Mista and Vortex to potentially push Beastie, or, as it seems, maybe head straight towards the food eco of Recon, which is not spectacular by any means, mostly consisting of only berry villagers.
Yeah, it's really important to note that having a look now at this fight that's unfolding down towards the base of who have we got down here? It's Recon in the blue. But one of the things I just wanted to draw your attention to, one of the comments that I saw a lot on my YouTube comments when I was casting team games, is that people often will get confused with all the colors that are going around. So I want to remind everybody there who's watching this and might get a little bit confused. Think of your three primary colors. It's your three primary colors. You've got blue, red, and yellow, and they're going up against the three non-primary colors, teal, green, and purple. So that's the best way to think about it. So second town center going to be going up here for Recon as well.
He is playing a very, very eco-heavy approach over here, being harassed by Mista. He has to be careful not to get those Mangadai surrounded by knights though, but once again, he's delaying that town center quite a bit, getting some villager picks. Not exactly sure what to think about that stone wall section for Recon. If he had some longbowmen, that would be great, because you could place them on top of that wall. But for a knight player, that wall seems a little odd.
Yeah, I'm very curious. What was this wall? What is this wall all about? I want to know. I want to ask him. I'm going to contact him after the game and be like, hey, what was that wall? This is the most curious wall I've ever seen. Maybe to get the villagers up there, potentially? Is that it?
Possible. It's actually a great idea. I didn't even think about that. And since the horsemen wouldn't be able to jump on them and the Mangadai would do way less damage, that would actually be a very clever idea, but I've never seen that being done before.
Who knows? Maybe he just invented a brand new meta. I'm curious to know now. But yeah, we're going to have to find that out. But we'll do a little bit of a stock take. I'm curious to know. We've got 3 relics in the Abbey of the Trinity for the Muslim. Doesn't look like he's dropped down a monastery at this point in time. Back towards the base of his opponent, though, Vortex. He's got the 3 relics as well. Still no monastery up for him yet either. So players are even, despite the Muslim getting up a little bit later than his Rus counterpart.
Indeed, the Muslim has been harassed by the Knights of Lucifron as well quite a bit. And as things stand, horse archer numbers seem to be fairly even. Now we're seeing Lancers appear on the field for both Mongol players. Lancer Mangadai, it is a very expensive but very lethal combination. A unit composition that's capable of beating mass horse archers even.
Yeah, it's one of the only compositions that can actually beat it. And we've seen it in numerous 1v1s. It's a composition that I absolutely love to see. So yeah, Lancer, Mangadai, it is a beautiful composition. Very, very fast. Obviously supported there by the Khan. It really helps out. But back towards the base of the Muslim here, he's able to pick up a couple of these Royal Knights. Lucifron yet to reach the Castle Age. Just as I say that, he touches up or hits up to the Castle Age. So he's looking to get into the 3rd age and potentially get those veterancy upgrades.
Speaking of veterancy, Recon is the only player still in Feudal Age, so he's going to have those Feudal Age Knights there, and Vortex trying to bring back a relic on the right side will be intercepted by the attacking forces of Beastie and Recon. Now, the base of Mista is under a lot of pressure. For now, he's patiently waiting for reinforcements before he fights this.
Yeah, gonna lose a couple villages, unfortunately for him. But yeah, it does look like this is quite a significant force here. So I guess Mista's not really used to getting double teamed over on his side, is he? Normally he's typically the aggressor in this situation. So it's definitely going to be a weird spot for him. 15 villagers inside the town center. He's going to be looking to hold on right now as the fight begins under the town center. The Royal Knights are doing their best to try and tap away. Keep in mind that I think they actually get the Saint's Blessing. Or it might be the Saint's Curse. I'm not sure exactly. There was a little bit of a debuff on them there. But now it looks like he's going to be able to hold on and begin pushing back the Knights of Recon. And in addition to that, the Lancers as well as the Mangadai are going to be falling back. So Mista doing a great job. At the same time, down towards the south, we've got another battle that's happening, Lidicor.
Massive battle indeed. Horse archers will trade shots over here, as now we have Castle Age Knights for Lucifron here, and Recon doesn't have any forces nearby. So at this point, it looks like both Mista and Recon is going to take quite considerable damage, and those Steel Knights are doing an exceptional job soaking up the arrow fire from the Muslims' Horse Archers.
Now, one thing I'm curious to know is what Lucifron's actually gone up to the third age with, because obviously going with the Royal Knights, he's got the veterans status out. If he does look to go with the Royal Institute, which he hasn't, he's actually gone with the Guild Hall. If he had, he would have been able to get that Royal Bloodline technology.
Once we have a bit of a moment to catch up here with all the action slowing down, I actually want to ask you if that's the right decision, because to me in these team games so far, it really felt like that Royal Bloodlines is such a big power spike in Castle Age that I would have thought that that's probably the better choice. Obviously, it depends on how aggressive you're playing. If you can avoid fighting with your knights, Guildhall can pay off really fast as well. So I'm curious to see, or curious to hear your opinion about that matter.
Yeah, I think it depends, is the bottom line. It can be good in some situations, but I definitely feel like in team games especially, it is incredibly strong. And I feel like if you don't go for it, you're almost making a little bit of a mistake unless you're planning for the late game. But speaking of the late game, it looks like right now that Beastie not going to be making it to the late game because he is getting absolutely swamped here. We've got triple non-primary colors in his base. He is obviously playing the red. He's waiting for those reinforcements, but he's being taken out. He's got the red lancers underneath the town center, and now we've got the knights that are following through, and this is just a terrible situation because one of the #1 rules of team games is never fight without your allies, and that's exactly what Beastie has been forced to do. Obviously, when he's got 3 enemies in his base, there's not much he can do, but it's meant that he's had to fight by himself, and as a consequence, he's lost all of his military. So now only 2 armies remain for the Beastie and the Strelbora's team.
And Recon is still in Feudal Age, so his knights will be much weaker than the ones from Lucifron. And if you think about it, we still have 3 armies inside the base of Beastie right now. Reinforcements are coming in from both sides, and even the Horse Archer numbers seem to be better than Vortix compared to the Muslim right now.
Yeah, the Muslim having a bit of a tough time right now. There's just so many units screening against his army. He's having such a difficult time. You can see them just getting chased away. He's forced to run back, unable to put any DPS out at all on these knights as they try their best to force them out. But behind this, we've just got villagers that are being slaughtered in the base of Beastie, and he's having a terrible time on this flank here. And it's really not looking good for them at this point.
Exactly, and that's what you want to do against the Mongols player in here. Run into the base, you will be taking a lot of town center and tower fire, but ultimately, you just detach a couple of knights from your army, and you just kill a couple of villagers with them, because you know exactly that killing villagers will result in them having a harder time reinforcing their army. Speaking of which, Beast's entire economy is just an absolute train wreck right now. He's probably down to like 10 villagers at this point. Indeed, he's at 20.
Yeah, currently sitting on 18 villages right now, and he's got no military whatsoever, so he is quite literally dead. I mean, he's got a couple pastures, but they can't do a whole lot against lancers, can they?
They cannot, for sure. He's at 14 population, and now it's a 2 versus 3. Beastie surrenders, and with that, a beautiful counterattack from Lucifron's team wins the game for them.
Yeah, really, really well played by Lucifron's team. I'm trying to think of the most pivotal moment, and I think it's got to be when the 2 players from Beastie's team went up and attacked the Mister, and he repelled them as an individual. He repelled 2 forces. He repelled, I think it was Recon and Beastie both attacking him at the same time. And I think that was really what turned the game, because a lot of units were lost, and it was a big swing.
I agree with that. The other thing that we could highlight is that the French player Recon went for a 2 town center build, which is something that can pay off really fast, but that early investment meant that his castle age was delayed very heavily, so obviously his army numbers were lower and the quality of his army was much lower. If you compare the military graphs for both Lucifron and Recon, Lucifron was always ahead in knight numbers simply because he was investing all of his resources into army and then castle age instead of making a second town center and getting some eco advantage there.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I think in team games it can be so cutthroat. Going for that second town center, it can really hurt you. Yeah, it's great to see the difference between knight numbers for that second town center. Well, we might wrap this video up here. If you're watching this one on YouTube, I will bid you guys adieu. Make sure you check out Lidical. I'm going to leave a link in the description over towards his YouTube page. You can catch more content like the Pro League on his channel. So make sure you go say good day. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, Lidical, my YouTube intro and outro is all done. I hope that I did it for you as well.
Yeah, like Honestly, I love that you're doing the sellout for me as well. Makes my life a lot easier.
All right,
Uh,
what map have we got in the second game? What do you reckon? Are we going to see some potential Boulder Bay action?
I would love to see at least one Boulder Bay game. We have seen some in the qualifiers, and like they can be spectacular in 3v3. It's just a gigantic battle of hawks, Lodya ships, demolition ships. It's one fun craziness. But the map is going to be Danube River, which is basically the most popular home map so far in the entire tournament. It's on the slower side of things, but it's also on the demolition ship side of things. A map that's a little controversial right now, given how powerful / broken demolition ships are. But one thing is sure, if you want to see some big demolition ship blasts wiping out armies, this is the map to go.
Yeah, that's very true. You know, interestingly, that when you say that, I'm just wondering why haven't demo ships been nerfed yet? What is going on? It's been the game's been out for like 3 months, and these demo ships are still wrecking havoc.
Yep, they are still wreaking havoc, and they're just wiping out armies left and right. So much so that basically having Holy Roman Empire on this map is a must, simply because you can go fast imp into demolition ships and control the river, because demolition ships by themselves are very powerful, but once you get the explosive stacks, that's where they get extremely powerful. Like, their range is ridiculous. They're able to knock down keeps in just a couple of blasts. They're able to wipe out entire armies. So having that explosive stack early for the Holy Roman Empire players is just such a massive power spike on this map. Hopefully the Relic devs have been watching this tournament, and they'll be like, oh shoot, we gotta change something up.
All right, Lidicorp, I am going to put out a suggestion there, because I've just remembered. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I've just remembered that the bitrate in private calls is actually lower than in servers. So I'm going to suggest that we actually head over to a Discord server with a much higher bitrate. I've got 256 kilobits per second. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
All right. On my server, jump into the Sunday Roast, and I'll pull you up to a private channel. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. All right.
All right. Well, hopefully the quality should be better for the stream, and obviously when we're recording for YouTube as well, should be much better. And hopefully no one can see us in here. I hate to have someone join us halfway through.
That would be a surprise. That's for sure. All right. So we do have these civilizations, and we have a bit of a surprise over here, because despite the fact that we're going to Danube River, we don't have Delhi picked. Now, as a reminder for everybody, the civilization rules are fairly simple. You can pick any civilization that you did not pick in the directly preceding game. So, game number 2, you can't pick the civilizations used in game number 1. So, obviously, French, Rus, Mongols are off the table for both. Chinese, Holy Roman Empire are there for both. But Vortex's team picks Abbasids as their third civ. Recon's team is gonna play English.
Why Abbasid?
Interesting
Just
question.
thinking, yeah, like, what?
Like, you got an early dock, so that's definitely a positive. You technically have the option to go aggressive with some sort of siege and sort of play in a way that, like, I could see spearmen archers being mixed in and going for a rampush style opening. Simply because that way, if you can delay 1 or 2 players from the opponent, then you could potentially have your own Chinese and HRE player just outboom them. So I can see something like that working. Cheaper dock obviously helps. The bigger question mark to me is going to be post-Imperial, because obviously HRE, great economy, so they are a late-game juggernaut civilization. Chinese, not even a question, but what are you going to do with the Abbasids if this game goes into late Imperial?
I remember watching Lord Doubt streaming, and he was playing a game on Mongolian Heights, and he was playing as the Abbasids, and he was up against, I think it was the Mongols, and it was in the ultra late game, and he was trading, and he was massing camel archers, and he was making only camel archers, and I gotta say, they actually performed very well. Once you reach the Imperial Age and you've got elite camel archers, they seem to do really, really well. So who knows what we'll see when it comes to the late game composition, whether we see Siege coming out from the Abbasid dynasty. I suspect we'd see Siege, right? It'd have to be a lot of mangonels out.
It's an option. The other thing I can think about is, as simple as it sounds, just Spearman. Think about it this way. You know that your opponent is going to have a Chinese player, Holy Roman Empire player might also play cavalry, so you want to have good spearmen that are also capable of bracing, because some of the spearmen cannot right now. But the Abbasids can brace, and the Abbasids have the phalanx upgrade on them, the infantry HP unique upgrade on the military wing, so you have some of the best spearmen available, which could be a great answer to the fire lancers of the opponent.
Yeah, that's a good call, actually. The Abbasid spears, that they can brace, can't they? It's the Delhi and the HRE that are bugged.
Yep. The Abbasid spearmen should be able to brace, yes.
Okay, cool. All right, well, yeah, hopefully I'm down for that. Mass spears and mangonels. Let's see it, let's see it.
All right, so we do have the civilizations up. The Muslim has the Holy Roman Empire, Beastie has the Chinese, and Recon has the English other side. Mista's gonna be handling the Abbasids. Now, he is known for that early game aggression style in Feudal Age on the Mongols. Curious to see if he's going to use the Abbasids there. One thing is sure, the Abbasids give you a bit of a wild card over here because you can do so many things with them. You can go for a 2TC boom, you can go a little more aggressive as well, so it's sort of that wild card that you want. Having the element of surprise could work nicely. I can even see some sort of 2000er stable play here because you're expecting the English to push you with some longbowmen, so you could see the same matchup as you sometimes see in a 1v1 Arabia game, where you have an Abbasid player going for a 2TC double stable horseman play to try and fight off an English longbow push.
Yeah, this is a very curious decision. Yeah, I like the way that this is actually going. The fact that it's not a mirror match makes me very happy. If there's one thing I don't like, it's mirror matches. So I'm really glad that we've got some difference between the civilizations. Just looking at your stream now, it's great to see the Abbasid dynasty flag is just literally blank. There's nothing in there. It's just like blank. It's very, very... it really makes me wonder why they decided to go with that version of the flag. Like, because there's different versions that you can get of the Abbasid Caliphate, I think it was called. And you can get like ones with a golden stripe or some swords on it, but yeah, who knows? That's a conversation for another day. All right, not long until the game starts. We've got about a minute and 18 seconds before we head on in. So I'm curious to know, chat, tell me, who do you think's going to win? Is it going to be the Alpha Abbasid mains? Or is it just going to be like the English plebs? Which one is it going to be? You don't really have much difference between these two, but I feel like it's going to be the Alpha Chads, the Alpha Abbasid Chads that are going to win this one. Yeah, look at chat, 100% agreeing. Yeah, it's going to be the Alpha Abbasids. It's got to be. Strelbora. Oh, yeah, true. They do have the Strelbora. And they do have Beastie on their team. And Beastie's playing Chinese. Oh, actually. Oh, the Muslims on HRE. Fuck. Okay, this is going to be good. All right, well, hopefully Lidicor gets back before the game starts. Otherwise, you guys are just going to get the audio. That's all you guys are going to get. You guys are just going to get the audio. Oh, guys, you guys are missing the craziest thing. Oh, he's back. He's back.
I'm back. Don't worry. I was going to give them the audio. Game number 2. I would never miss the start of game number 2. But I was like, oh yeah, we got 4 minutes on the countdown. Might as well grab something to drink because we could be in for a long game here. That's for sure. Yeah,
I'm suspecting it could be a long one. I won't ask you that question. I'll wait till the game starts. But speaking of game starting, g'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. With me today is Lidicor because we are casting the 3v3 Pro League, spawning in on the southeast side of the map. We've got Beastie QT on the Chinese. In the pocket position, we've got his ally Recon, who is playing the English Strelbora. And down towards the south, the flank, the Muslim, playing the Holy Roman Empire. Lidicor, who's on the opposite side of the map?
We will have Vortex in the pocket position playing as the Holy Roman Empire in purple. To the right of him is Lucifron handling the Chinese Intel, and to the left, we will have the Mista in the flank position as the Abbasid Sultanate in green. The first thing that I noted as you were introducing the base of the Muslim is that he's going to take the further away forest here, but I love this move from him. He's going to have that forest spawn right next to that gold mine, so this way, that one prelate can inspire both the lumberjacks and the gold miners. It's a very clever touch for the Muslim. He could have gone for a forest right next to his TC, but in the long run, this is going to be a lot more
Ah.
efficient.
Yeah, at first I was wondering what you were talking about. I'm like, I was trying to find the forest. I'm like, where is what forest is he talking about? And then it all made sense. But yeah, a little bit of long distance prelating to open it up with. But obviously, this map we're playing on is Danube River, and typically on Danube River, you would see one civilization in particular, the Delhi Sultanate. And we don't actually see that today. We instead see the Abbasid dynasty and the English. That's a bit weird, isn't it, Lidicor?
It's a little weird indeed. The English can put up a lot of early pressure, and we have seen it from time to time that teams are just trying to deny the fishing eco of the opponent early game, and English is a great civilization to do that. You got the longbows out, you got the towers working nicely, and behind that, it's not like you have a terrible economy either. You can go up to Castle Age with King's Palace, so you will most likely have 2,000 centers worth of boom as well. Late game, you have the enclosures on your farms, so you also have a great late game economy. You have the farming eco going for you in case you get pushed off from the water. So there's a lot to love about the English here. As you said, though, it's a little surprising that you are seeing the Delhi missing out completely, because one thing that the Delhi gives you is safety to your fishing eco in Dark Age, and it's pretty important because you could see towers crawling up from your opponent anytime in this game, trying to deny the fishing eco.
Yeah, well, speaking of denying eco, take a look at over on the Mister's crossing up towards the north here. Instead of building the walls all the way up, he's only just half built them. And obviously that's going to prevent the pathing of any enemies through there. But very interestingly, it only takes, a quarter, a half of the amount of time to do it. Very interesting strategy. I've not seen anybody do this before. Have you seen anyone do this before?
Not like the Mista does it. Sometimes you see this being done just so that you deny the incoming enemy units from killing your villager. But usually when you do this, you already see the enemy units coming in and you're like, okay, I need to finish this wall before he gets to the other side and kills my villager. But preemptively like that, it's a little surprising. And you see that he's also doing something unique with the Abbasid Dynasty. This is the first time I'm seeing this build on this map, at least in a 3v3 setting. 2 docks for the Abbasids, obviously the discount on that helps a lot, and it looks like he's able to afford to produce fishing ships consistently on both of those. That's gonna skyrocket his food eco really fast.
Yeah, I'm curious how he's going to be able to use this to capitalize on the potential mid game. Because one of the things that I always talk about when you're playing into a heavy food economy like you do when you're going with these early fishing or early dock openings is that you've got to be using that food in a meaningful way. Are you thinking about going up to the third age? Are you thinking about dropping down an extra 4 town centers? There is unlimited ways that you can potentially go for it, but I guess that's really the crux of sort of the assessment is what is the best way for him to use that. Now, keep in mind, he's already playing the Abbasid dynasty, and there's a good chance he's going to have will go up with the economic wing, which will give him fresh foodstuffs that'll reduce the cost of his villages. So it's not like he's going to need a lot of food. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him actually go for a fast castle and then potentially into men-at-arms. We've seen him do that many times before. We saw him do that in Genesis, actually, where he went for a fast castle into men-at-arms and mass Springolds. But obviously, Springolds nerfed now.
Looking at the base of the Muslim, you just gotta love how many sheep he has to work with. It is most likely that his teammates donated all those sheep to him. This is pretty common when you have the other 2 players fishing. You can just send all the sheep to the Holy Roman Empire player that's not fishing at that very moment. As you see, the Muslim is coming up with the walls on the left side. So far, little aggression is put up on the docks though, so everybody is nice and safe with their fish.
Yeah, now, interestingly, he's got quite a lot of... I was going to say quite a lot of villages on wood, but then I just realized he's actually got he's got a dock up himself, Liticor.
Yeah, it's a little
he's got
surprising.
Yeah, it's very hard to see because it looks like it's a gold mine on my minimap, but it's not. It's not. It is his dock. But yeah, it seems like every single player is actually fishing on this map, so no real surprises. Players definitely looking to take advantage of the water. Yeah, I'm curious to see from Beastie's perspective. Look at this amount of fishing boats he's got out. He's got 10 fishing boats out from here. We are really seeing a boom off today, aren't we?
Exactly. The surprising thing here is that in earlier rounds, you could see the Holy Roman Empire players basically doing no fishing here, and the idea was that they just get the sheep, get the Alkin Chapel for them, and they still have a good land eco.
Yeah.
But in the long run, it's probably better that you fish as well, because it's not like you're getting harassed. I think the major reason why all of the players are fishing is because there is no Delhi player, so there is nothing that can hurt your fishing eco in Dark Age, and it pays off so fast that even just a small investment is something that you can justify immediately.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is the fact that it just pays off so fast is really what makes it so attractive. And to be honest, when I think about it, I'm like, it kind of needs to be maybe nerfed a little bit. Like I don't know, man. I feel like fishing is so strong. If you don't fish, it's like pretty much game over. So yeah, it's something to be really cognizant of. If there are developers watching this, put it up on the whiteboard. Just put a little like question mark next to it. Is fishing too strong? Like question mark, 10 p.m. or like 10 a.m. on Tuesday. That's when you guys discuss that. Have a meeting about that because I feel like fishing's a little bit too strong with the core.
I think the biggest thing is that you can mass so many fishing ships here. You see that in Dark Age Feudal Age, you already have 10 plus fishing ships for most players. If you could slow down the production of the fishing ships a tiny bit, that would obviously slower, or like make it slower for them to return their
Good
investment.
call. All right. Well, you guys heard it here first. Patch notes. Next patch notes will say fishing boats, 25 seconds train time increased to 35 seconds.
Yep.
There you go, Lytical. We are balance patching on the fly. On the fly.
I feel like any RTS game that you take a look at has 1 million balance patchers. They're usually called players. And everybody knows exactly how they need to patch the game. And
whatever it is that you lost to in your last game, that's what needs to be patched the most.
Exactly.
I lost to an Abbasid player. That civ is busted. We got to nerf it out the wazoo. But speaking of nerfing out the wazoo, longbows in the middle of the map are beginning to apply pressure towards the Mister's fishing boats. He's not having a particularly good time with these.
Indeed, and that's the power that you're getting from the English here, because you're the only player on the battlefield with any kind of army, so even just a handful of longbowmen can do a lot of damage, and the real advantage on the longbows is that they have 7 range, which means they outrange any Feudal Age combat ship, so even if you make a galley, you can't kill them from the shoreline, and that's just so frustrating when they harass your fishing eco like that.
Yeah, this is really annoying. I'm just watching it. Well, was that Vortex reaching the castle age just then? We just saw a very quick castle. That's an 8-minute castle age. The Muslim coming in right behind him. 8 minutes and 10 seconds right behind him. They are looking to capture these these relics. First one's getting picked up already for Vortex. He's looking to bring those ones in. Second one also coming in for him as well, just to the south of his base. So while we've got this this attack coming on the front line, at the same time players are thinking about their economy. I'm curious to see where Demuslim is at. He's picking up 1 relic, I see. Do you see the second one for him yet? Oh, there's the second prelate.
Yep. What I'm also seeing, though, is that Vortex is really leveraging that fishing eco, because we have seen some crazy fast Imperials from him. Have you seen a sub 10-minute fast Imperial from Vortex? Because you will in the next couple of seconds.
Oh, really? No, I haven't actually seen it, no. But that excites me greatly. I'm looking at his economy right now. It doesn't... I can't imagine it. Oh my god, it's already up. Look at that. Palace of Swabia. It's going up right now. God damn. How does the man do? That's a... that is a 9-minute 20 fast Imperial. That is... All right, that's fast. I feel like you got to bring out a new word for that. You can't even call that a fast Imperial. That's like a super fast Imperial. What the heck are you doing, Vortex?
Oh, he's speedrunning imp. Now, looking at Beastie, it looks like he wanted to send a villager forward to make a dog, but one thing that you have to be considerate of on this map is that you have a bunch of wolves in the middle, and every once in a while, you see sneaky villagers being intercepted by those wolves, just like right now. So, Beastie's plan here was slowed down by the fact that there were some wolves out there. Recon, on the other hand, is doing an exceptional job killing the fishing eco of the Mista here.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job of just being annoying. And I feel like at this point, the best thing you could do as the Mister is just pack up all your fishing ships and head right up to the north. Just go drop down another dock up here and then just start fishing up there. Because at the very least, that's going to require your enemy recon to walk all the way up there. And you know, it's going to take time for him to do that.
3 relics right now in for Vortex, but given the fact that there is still some to grab on the map, it's likely he's going to make a monastery. You already have 3 as well for the Muslim, and he's got the monastery up as well. Recon playing with a second town center, the Muslim, clearly slower to cast Imperial compared to Vortex. I wonder if there was any kind of, oh my goodness, the demolition ship.
Oh, I didn't see the demo ship. What did it take out?
Or the
Oh,
longbowman. Or the longbowman.
Seriously?
Yep.
Oh, don't tell me that. Oh, no. How many longbows went down? Yeah, that's got to be at least 10 longbows going down, right?
Yeah, I would estimate like 12. I just barely caught the blast as well. But guess what? Vortex has explosives on those demolition ships now, so now they become very scary. And you see, this is the fast Imperial demolition ship play. Just before that
Oh
popped,
my-
I wanted to ask you if it was possible that Vortex got slunk to Imperial, because his imp was so fast that even with Fishing Eco, you gotta wonder if there were some resources sent by Mista, for example.
Yeah, he did put down a market. I noticed that market go up. So I would suspect that is it. It is definitely a sling that we've seen. But yeah, he's up to Imperial, and they are just rushing these demo ships. And these are fully upgraded demo ships. As you mentioned, these bad boys are, you know, they have got the explosive upgrade. So he is going to be looking at taking down docks, taking down infrastructure. What's the counterplay to this?
If you can't beat them, join them, I guess. You see that the Muslim is doing his best. He's splitting up all of his fishing eco, and now he's grabbing that demo as well. But this is the problem. Even if you trigger the opponent's demo, the collateral damage is going to sink your fishing eco here.
Look how much damage that does. It literally just one-shots his dock. That is ludicrous how much damage that does. Gosh, that is crazy. More demos just continuing to pile in. And so this is really the meta on this map. You just go fast Imperial into these crazy demos. And I think this is probably the point where we've got to start asking the question, do demos... Is that one-shotting? There's no way it just one-shot that dock. Did you see that?
It looks like it does. It is just...
It looks like it... It says it does 420 damage. And it just, it just one-shots the dock. Is that is there's no way that is 100% bugged. That's not intended.
Yeah, there's no way. Like, demo ships would be already very powerful, but there has to be some sort of glitch with that because they're just ridiculously powerful. Surprisingly enough, Karoks do pretty decently against them because they do have a long range, so they can snipe them before they get close. But obviously, Karoks fire slowly, and you're just being flooded by those demolition ships. Those walls will be broken through in just a matter of seconds.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty quick. Have a look at the economy that Vortex has got as well. He's sitting up on 5k gold at this point. Here comes the first demo ship. I want to see exactly how much damage... What the It does more than 2,000 damage.
Knock,
Oh
knock.
It's the United States. I can't, it's so funny. The demo ships are so busted. Okay, all right. Developers, we're going to have to move that meeting forward from Tuesday at 10 a.m. Move that bad boy up to Monday, 9 a.m. This is getting ridiculous. Look how crazy. How do you even respond to that? Like, your enemy is just... Oh,
Wait.
Yeah, did you see
What
that?
happened there?
I think it was because they were so far away from... I think it's based on proximity. It's something to do with proximity. It's got, like, different... think of it like a shockwave. And so the closer that it is to the demo ship, the more damage. There's, like, rings that pop off around it. That's something that I noticed with the walls, is that it would sort of go like boof, 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 boof. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you're standing right next to it, you're going to take all 6 waves. Which... There you go.
Yup. Demolition ships knocking down all of those docks at this point. Haven't really seen a lot of demos from the Muslims so far, but I guess that's because all of his docks were already wiped out.
Yeah, well, all right, guys, we lost water on this one, it seems. And so now that they've won water, Vortex's team, from here, what do they do? What's the goal?
Oh, I think from this point on, you start thinking about playing this one slowly because you got the water control and that gives you like 60% map control advantage. And you can start focusing your efforts on the left side, maybe secure that sacred side because you're guaranteed to have the one in the middle.
Right, okay, that's a pretty smart move. And is there any sort of counter to these demo ships that you can think of, Lidicor? Because obviously there's a crossing up here towards the north. We can see that Beastie is frantically just trying to wall it up with his villagers, but I mean, there's a demo ship just lying in wait, ready to go. Is there anything that he can do to counter those?
I think, like, here's the deal. Back before Springolds were nerfed, Springolds would have been a great tool because they have a long range, they can snipe down ships, but now that they have been nerfed, their base damage is too low to snipe them. You are seeing sometimes towers working out to a decent level, because if you can get a lot of damage on them before they reach their target, you can just snipe them down with how low HP they remain with. But obviously you need a lot of firepower, and the difficult thing is that their blast radius is so big that you need some very long range things to take them down, like for example a couple of clock tower bombards.
That's a great point. Clock tower bombards are going to be very strong against any potential demo ships, and look, they seem to be doing quite effectively against that. So they're going to be able to clear that one out. So Beastie going to be happy with the way that has worked off, and now he's going to have to work on clearing the rest of the canal. Is that what you'd call it? I guess you could probably call it a canal, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's technically a river, although it feels like a very underwhelming river. On the other side, though, by the time you clean up those demos, Vortex is coming in with fully upgraded elite men-at-arms, and on the left side, I see a lot of teal dots crossing the map. Those are Fire Lancers, soon to be elite, and the voice from Beastie, oh, those are incomplete, so the Fire Lancers can march straight in. Mista also has a couple of forward positions over here with men-at-arms, spearmen. Some Lancers will respond to this one from the Muslim, but those Fire Lancers will have a free way into your base.
Yeah, these Fire Lancers are going to be really concerning, because I guess the number one concern is obviously that they're going to take out landmarks, but the thing is that it's sort of a slow bleed with the Fire Lancers in that they can just take out villager upon villager upon villager. Now we're going to see them begin their first hits of the game coming in on these elite knights. The Muslim going to be taking quite a punch there, but unfortunately not critical mass reached yet for Lucifron and his Fire Lancers.
Demolition ships still blasting their way through those woes, and that would let all those men-at-arms cross the river as well. Woes coming in right now for the Muslim. Currently their biggest problem is that they don't really have a ton of army on the battlefield. You see Recon still in Castle Age, and for Beastie, he was mostly focusing on his eco as well, so no Fire Lancers as of yet.
Yeah, you can see that the Muslim's struggling a little bit with the economy as well. He's got 105 villages at the moment, but just falling behind on the food count. And that's only going to get worse if these Fire Lancers do actually get behind lines, because it's going to mean that his economy just goes completely idle. We can see he's got a little bit of food economy around the main town center, but other than that, not a whole lot that is there.
On the left side, we got the Fire Lancers clashing into Spearmen. This is what I was referring to before. Recon in the previous rounds has done a masterful job holding off Fire Lancers with spears. The problem here for him is that he has English spears versus Abbasid spearmen supported by some men-at-arms, so it's going to be difficult to beat this combination of Fire Lancers and Abbasid infantry.
Yeah, Fire Lancers now looking to get towards those bombards. They know that that is the money right there, and going to be putting out their siege damage on those clock tower bombards. 864 health goes absolutely nowhere. They just get melted, shredded completely, but at least there is a castle nearby to be able to apply a little bit of pressure, and they do manage to clean that one up.
We just saw Baoshuan being sunk on the water, and now you see multiple castles on the shoreline trying to sink those ships. Now that I think about castles, the Red Palace is probably the best building that you can have to sink those ships, because they have long range, a lot of firepower, but of course, not having French over here means no Red Palace either. However, the Muslim is appearing on the battlefield with fully upgraded elite knights, and the numbers are increasing. Bombards are also rolling up to the left, and that's the entire army production for the Mista that's wide open for destruction.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good right now, Muslim. He's got a lot of forces out, and keep in mind, he gets to maintain tempo as well. That is a big thing. The fact that he's got out this mass already, 22, means any subsequent fights that he has, he's going to be able to pick off those smaller numbers of units. And now that he's on the production, as you mentioned, it's going to make it very easy for him to begin slicing through that. So even though they've lost the water, they may potentially not have lost the game, but Beastie getting a wall taken out there. I'm not sure if you caught that one, but the demo ship doing absolute work on that shoreline. Even if you do try and wall yourself in, you're going to have difficulty going up against these demo ships because they've just got so much flexibility. And take a look at the crossing, Lidicor.
Yup, the men-at-arms are coming in. Nest of Bees, not really setting up so far. Those could help a lot against the men-at-arms. Now you got them set up, so as long as the villagers are tanking the damage, you could have those Nest of Bees clean this up. There's also burning oil on those keeps. The bigger problem is the Fire Lancers crossing out there, so despite Beastie's forces pushing the left side quite relentlessly, now the middle crossing is the concerning spot.
Yeah, this is a really tough spot. You can see that the first keep has actually gone down. The bombards on the back line from Vortex are working their way through. Going to begin hammering away at that and pushing down towards the base of Beastie. And this is the difficult spot because, as you mentioned, the Fire Lancers are going to be able to come through. We can see them slowly working their way towards that nest of bees, but that is not the main concern. The main concern of these villagers, oh my lord, those villagers just look like they've been... I'm not even going to say it. It's just destruction. It's utter destruction right there.
Knights now coming in here from the Muslim. He's doing a great job trailing those Fire Lancers with his own Knights right now. And in the middle, oh my goodness. I didn't see that demo blast. I just see the ending of it. A bunch of dead yellow bodies. Seeing that there were some Fire Lancers nearby, I assumed that they baited them to the shoreline and then just sunk them all. Still, the biggest problem right now is that we're just seeing so limited numbers from Beastie's team when it comes to army. It's some Knights from the Muslim, some Spearmen from Recon, but their opponents just have a massive head start when it comes to army numbers and upgrades.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier with the Muslim, you know, he was in an advantageous position because he was able to have the larger mass of units, and it meant they were on top of the production, so he would be able to take out any subsequent production. But then it all goes to waste in a single demo ship, doesn't it?
Yep, exactly. There's also a Baoshuan sailing up the river. There's actually three of them. Those majestic ships moving up, and those will take some nice shots on that white tower as well. Spring Golden placements are coming in on those, but those buildings will fall so fast to the cannon fire. For now,
yeah,
it's a bit of a stalemate in the middle, but those Baoshuan will probably be able to break the stalemate.
Yeah, it's not feeling good right now for Beastie QT and the Strelborers. They're having a difficult time, and you can see the Fire Lancers making their way through. Line of sight in the middle is still provided by those stone walls, and Beastie is able to spot those Fire Lancers coming through. He knows they're entering onto his side of the river. He just doesn't know exactly where they are. But he's going to begin stone walling up his trade line, and I definitely like this move from him. It's a smart move.
It is indeed a clever move, and if the game goes very long, that trade could be very important. Of course, with so much mineable gold still left on the map, they are going to need to play a very long game here for that trade to be relevant. Some Fire Lancers do get through, and they will be able to get some damage done on the food eco of the Muslim, which, by the way, is beautifully built up. Look at that, surrounding the Akin Chapel.
Yeah, wow, what a beautiful base. I gotta say, that is a screenshot right there if I've ever seen one. Ladies and gentlemen, get your print screens out. Look at that. Isn't that just... wow. I don't think I've ever seen a more beautiful base than I have right now.
And the Muslim is able to take down the Baoshan with his keeps. Oh, look at this. The Muslim has 3 relics in that keep, and with that, his firepower is increasing and the weapon range is increased by 20%. I honestly didn't even know that you can increase the range of your castles with the relics inside. Such a clever use of the relics here for the Muslim. He's got 3 in the Ragnitz Cathedral and 3 in that keep, and that is just helping so much holding off the push on the river. In fact, that might be the saving grace that helps against demolition ships.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. That is very curious. I always felt like that was just something, you know, that was like a bonus that no one ever just looked at. It was like, oh, they can, you know, they can put their relics in docks to increase the attack speed of boats. And it's like, great. Well, when do I ever have excess relics? Well, here you go. Team games. That's when you have excess relics. So, you know, you can pack them up in the Ragnitz Cathedral, and then when you're finished with them, throw them over in the keep, because keep in mind, they still do provide that extra 100 gold a minute. Well, not that extra, but that standard 100 gold a minute.
Exactly. There's no point putting them into a monastery for the HRE. I think we learned something very useful today, because this is one of those things, as you said, that technically it's written in the tool tips, but no one ever reads that, no one ever uses that. Mista, on the other hand, going for a Wonder. A Wonder was rushed up as well by Beastie on the right side, but the Fire Lancers will slow that down quite considerably.
Yeah, unfortunate for him. Those Fire Lancers could probably just shred through that Wonder themselves. But yeah, going to be a Wonder coming up. So just shy of 25 minutes is the first Wonder. I'm going to see if I can spot it out. So it was, it's a green Wonder. We know that much. Can you see it, Liticor? There it is. I spot it. The Prayer Hall of Uqba.
The Wonder is up as well. For Beastie's team, there is still some Fire Lancers nearby, so now it comes down to whether or not Beastie's team can take down Mista's Wonder. And this is where we have to highlight that Beastie's team was in a very similar position, I think 2 rounds ago, and they managed to finish off the opponent's Wonder like 20 seconds left on the clock. So don't count out Beastie and the Straboras yet, as the demolition ships in the middle will sink a couple of knights.
Yeah, and can we just, I just want to compliment right now Beastie's composition. He is 100% siege. That is it. He's making nested bees, he's making bombards, and there he's making nothing else. That's all he's got. So I gotta say, I absolutely love it. I remember when Age of Empires 4 hadn't yet come out, and I think I was playing a game with, it might have been Casper, and I just went for full siege. And it actually worked. And I'm like, well, I don't know if that's meant to work, but I'm suspecting Beastie probably watched that video. He's like, I'm going to copy that. Not really. But this is the Chinese death ball, and I absolutely love it. I think it's a fantastic way to play China, especially in team games. Full siege. It is a smart move. No one can beat Chinese siege.
Exactly, this is a lethal composition. If you have so many Holy Roman Empire Knights in yellow, Spearmen to brace against the charge of the Fire Lancers, and then if you also have a couple of siege weapons, and not just bombards, but also the Nest of Bees, which will work really well if there's a meat shield in front of them, because they'll just be able to decimate the infantry and even the Fire Lancers. There's a demolition ship hiding there for Vortex, ready to jump on the siege weapons. Despite that castle being there for the Muslim, who is now spreading out the relics to multiple keeps, actually, this still gives him the weapon range, it seems. Yeah, so
yeah, I think it's a smart move for him to do that. So it doesn't, I'm not sure if it actually stacks. I think it only provides the weapon range once. And so he's just moved them out into different keeps. So pretty smart move there from him.
Yeah, that's like 500 IQ, because especially in the middle of a tournament game, you don't have time to figure that out by yourself. It's like, okay, what do I do? Fire Lancers crossing the river, though. The most important thing here is that if you have them split into multiple keeps, that's going to guarantee that your opponents won't be able to break through there. Some more Baushan are moving up, but it looks like the Muslim will send all of his cavalry to the left side, trying to take that Wonder down, but the walls are there, so he's not going to be able to cross at all, unless he goes through these shallows here, but that's very risky for him.
Oh, this is very, very risky. Oh, good luck to Muslim. Oh, you're playing with fire, my friend. You're playing with fire. Don't do it to him. No, don't Muslim. Not like this. Oh, my God. Why does he do it to us, Lytical? Why does he do it to us?
Oh, boy. I don't think that he saw those demolition ships, and neither did we. Oh, that battered force of knights is just going to be very sad. And I mean, in the middle, you already have the Mista with the stone walls up as well. Oh, this is looking really grim right now for Beastie's team. They're 30 seconds behind on the relic countdown. They are the ones that have to destroy that Wonder, and look at the right side now. Stone walls are up for Beastie, but Mista managed to get some infantry through, and he's coming in with the battering rams, allowing the Fire Lancers to break in soon.
Oh no, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's so terrible. What is it about the Chinese wall, or the Great Wall of China, where it's like they never broke through the Great Wall of China. They just ran around it. But it seems like the Abbasid dynasty have taken a play out of another book, because they've just said, well, we're just gonna break through it this time. This wall just goes for absolute ever, doesn't it? Look at the gosh, man, this is huge. All right, looks like a couple of knights now broke their way through. Gonna be able to slowly but steadily siege down these battering rams. Spears getting a nice little slice. I don't even know what to call that, Littlecord. Have you got any idea what to call that?
Poke, maybe?
Yeah, a little bit of a poke, yes.
Yeah, for now, it looks like the Wonders will stay safe for both. The biggest problem right now for Beastie's team is they're making no noticeable progress through the river, so demo this, demo that. Even if that demo wasn't there, they would be bumping into stone walls with all those knights, so they need something that break through those walls first.
Yeah, now, there's not too much of a foothold that's actually been placed over here. It looks like he just had some infantry that was hanging out over here. I can't see any transports up towards the north, so I don't suspect that's going to be a long attack that's going to be happening over here. It looks like it was sort of just a once-off, and I suspect once these battering rams are taken down, that'll be pretty much all she wrote for this attack up here towards the north, at least until a transport or two gets made.
Exactly. Looks like this ram push is going to get cleaned up. Fire Lancers will be cleaned up as well. Looks like the Muslim is regrouping with his knights, though. He's moving to the left side once again. Those keeps
Oh,
now
no.
with the extra range are taking down all those demolition ships. So really, this is the answer to these demos here. Those demos popping off, barely doing any damage to the keeps. And if you got that extra range going, those will work very nicely. Although that keep on the left side is going to be taken down.
Oh, jeez. Does a lot of damage, but manages to keep it alive. I feel like there's a small little window he's got where he can just rush over 10 villages and repair it. But my fear is that a demo would just come in and kill all the villagers.
But look at the far left. Here comes Beastie Cutie, and he's about to blast through the first layer of walls. Second layer also gonna get taken down. That's a lot of stuff to destroy. And if you look at the middle, the forces of Vortex will have to be pulled all the way back to the left side. That's going to take some time until the infantry comes to the left side of the map.
Yeah, and they are really going safe with this one as well. They don't want to muck around. They don't want to play around with any of those demo ships. And slowly but steadily, those forces are going to be coming across. But you can see that that Lucifron is definitely scrambling to try and get these walls and these towers up as quickly as possible. Now it looks like he's managed to get through. He's through to the final layer, at least the final layer for now. Because one of the things that you do commonly see is players just walling out the wazoo. Did you see those two spears?
Yep. They had the worst day of their life, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Now-
that was not good.
Yeah, it looks like this is gonna be the make or break hold for Vortex's team. They do have their bombard set up as well. Some fire lancers are on the field. Big horde of spearmen also in for Mista's forces, and those Abbasid spearmen should be able to do quite well against the Yellow Knights. But with so many Nest of Beasts coming in as well, I have no idea who has the edge in this one. But that's
Look
a
at
couple of cannon
Vortex's
towers.
base defense that he's got set up. Look at this. He's got so many of these outposts set up, ready to go. I gotta count these. Hold on a second. Give me a sec. What do we got here? 27 outposts coming up right now for Vortex. That's not too bad. That's not too bad.
Yep, and all of those are bombard towers. They have cannon emplacements on them. Most of them are being fortified as we speak. So it's gonna be a bit of a time to break through them. Meanwhile, the Muslim is gonna clean up the stable. That's a bit of a nice touch here, making sure the Fire Lancers can't just mass up and charge their right side. They still have 7 minutes to go to destroy the opponent's wonder. In the middle, everything is peaceful now, so everything is gonna come down to that left side.
Yeah, and one of the key differences here, in my opinion, is that the Fire Lancers for Lucifron are quite large, and they're going to be what either make it or break it. So there's plenty of bombards out for Lucifron, but he's got no Nest of Bees, whereas Beastie has got a huge amount of Nest of Bees. And one of the things about Nest of Bees, once they reach a critical mass, there's nothing that can stop them when it comes to coming up close to them. So you could bring, infinite amounts of those Fire Lancers, but the Nest of Bees are always going to just be able to take them out. Now the bombards begin taking it out. We'll enter into the cinematic mode as the Fire Lancers look to try and take out on the left-hand flank all those Royal Knights. The bombards on the back line going to be doing their best as we witness one of the greatest battles in Age of Empires 4. Bombards firing off, Nest of Bees trying their hardest. The Fire Lancers breaking through onto the back line. All those bombards are going down. Nest of Bees doing a great job, and we see an overwhelming victory coming out now for our team in the north. It looks like they have completely destroyed this attack, Lidicor.
The forces of Recon's team were just not in sync with each other. You could see that the spearmen were a little late to the party, and you could fight the Fire Lancers with the Knights. If the Red Spearmen were able to help, that could have been a completely different fight. And the Springolds of Mista were doing so much work. Those Abbasid Springolds, he had like 10 of them. And part of the reason why that siege wasn't able to do much is because they were sniped down by the Springolds. Now, this is going to be very difficult for Beastie's team to push, because Mista's team is still leading with the Wonders by 30 seconds. And as things stand, that push on the left side stalls out completely. In the middle, there's absolutely nothing coming through. I feel like Beastie's team may have just lost their final momentum in this game.
I think you might be 100% right. It looks incredibly difficult from this point. How do they even get through this? I mean, there's just so many towers out for them now. It's a huge amount of units that are back defending here. And as you pointed out in the early game, the likely unit that you expected that would come out from the Abbasid dynasty was going to be those spears. And we have got just plenty of them out on the field. Mista currently sitting with 84 elite spearmen.
But there is the next wave coming in. The Muslim is not giving up, and I think he's now going for the snipe. Their time is running low. There is some demolition ships crawling up, though. The Muslim now pushing up, because it looks like Vortex has kind of given up on the demolition ship approach, and that's a lot of demos crawling up the river from both Recon and the Muslim. They want to blast through those walls with demos, the cannon, and then push up with the Knights. But if the Wonder is walled in, it's going to be impossible to snipe it with just the knights.
I basically just went from the Wonder all the way to the to where the army is at the moment, and it's a long way, Lidical. I'm gonna be real with you. It is a very long way.
4 minutes remaining. As you see now, the demos will trade off against each other. One layer down, there is at least 2 more layers, a bunch of castles, fire lancers, men-at-arms in the way. This is the final charge of the Muslims team. They either take that wonder down and win the game, or they're going to lose this one. There is no other options at this point.
So what do you even do at this point? I'm thinking like you try and rush through, but the issue is you've got bombards that are going to have to take down the stone wall because that thing's fully walled in. You can't get units behind there to siege that down. So you have to get bombards up there. And it's a far way away, all the way back there.
This is the biggest problem indeed, that you can't just run in and snipe. That's why it's so good idea to just stonewall that in, but that's a lot of knights to work with. I think the biggest thing that you need for Recon, though, is some forward buildings, because he needs to reinforce that battle a little faster. You don't have time to wait for the infantry to arrive on the battlefield. Men-at-arms are in there here for him, though, and those will be extremely tanky. Cannon fire opening up on the castles, and now you see Lucifer's team is pulling back a tiny bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of units in here, though, Lidicor. We've got to enter into the cinematic mode once again as we begin to witness the greatest fight history has ever known. As the Royal Knights, look at the massive Royal Knights that are out right now. At this point in time, it is ridiculous. They're just looping around. There's so many of them. The Springalds are having a difficult time getting on top of the Bombards because of their own wall. You've got to delete that wall to get through. And unfortunately, Mr. having a bit of a tough time, but it looks like another cleanup may be in order on aisle number 4, Lidicor, because the Spearmen are just overwhelming completely the units that are all here. I think this might just be a good game right now.
It's very likely, because those purple men-at-arms are still in good numbers, and don't underestimate them against knights. Having that +6 damage versus heavy units is just spectacular, and you see Beastie is indeed tapping out. The problem here was that it was basically 2.5 versus 3. Recon didn't have the forces in large numbers in the middle, simply because he had to walk all the way through the map to reinforce. And with that, faster wonder for the team of Lucifron, and they take game number 2 as well.
What a game. So, not a bad game at all. That was quite enjoyable, and I gotta say, we need to move that meeting forward that we discuss the the demo ships. Bring that that is just ludicrous. Those things absolutely like wow. That is crazy. They're so strong. You can see how pivotal they were throughout that game, but a beautiful defense there from Vortex, from Lucifron, and from the Mister.
Absolutely. Like, the key thing from them was that they had multiple layer stonewalls, so while obviously the demolition ships contributed a lot to their victory, part of the reason why they were able to win this is because there was no way for the opponents to run in and snipe those wonders. The tower defense on the left side, and even just the stonewalls in the middle. So the Muslim tried to cross the river with like 50 lancers, but they would have just bumped into stonewalls anyways. Obviously, had he not lost all of those, there could have been a better chance to take the fight on the left side, but ultimately, it comes down to military numbers, and if you see what the Mista did with his villager count, he basically started deleting villagers at some point. By the end of the game, he went down to 33 villagers, just so that he can fit in all that army and make sure that the opponents can't get to the wonder.
Yeah, really smart move from him. Yeah, you can see spikes on the military count as well. Very smart play from the Mister. All right, well, if you're watching this one on YouTube, make sure you check out Lidicor. I'll leave a link in the description. For all you guys watching on Twitch, make sure you stay tuned because there is plenty more action coming up. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. All right, Twitch guys. Lidicor, you ready for the next game? What map do you reckon it's going to be?
Ooh, so usually what we're seeing is that after these longer games, teams prefer to go for open maps. And indeed, that's actually going to be the case. Looking at the pick, it is going to be Lipony. Now we have the civilizations from game number 1 available once again. So Rus, Mongols, and French can be picked once again by either of these teams.
Interesting. So do you think we're just going to see the exact same teams or the exact same civs that we saw in the first game?
I would think so. If you think about it, there is no Abbasids. We have seen some teams attempting to play an Abbasid flank. We have seen some teams attempting an English flank, but either of these teams have picked one of those. So I would be surprised if we saw any of those, especially because once again it comes down to mobility, and exactly looking at the civilization draft, it is going to be French, Rus, and Mongols, the usual trio of civilizations for open maps.
Right, so that's going to be for both players, Lidicor?
Exactly. Both teams coming in.
Both teams, yep. Okay. Hmm. So the map that we're seeing is Lipany. So it's not going to be high view. It's going to be Lipany.
Yep, it's
So I'm
Lipany.
trying to think, yeah. So I wonder if we'll see French Pocket or Rus Pocket again. Could see Rus Pocket. Double Rus Pocket, probably.
I would think that Vortex's team is going to utilize French flank. So far, on every single open map they played, they did that. Lucifron playing French flank, and then Vortex playing a Rus pocket. On the other side, I would think that the Recon is going to stay in the pocket with the French. So, regardless of the fact that Lipany is less open than Arabia or Highview, we got some cliffs all around the map, I would still think that you're going to have the same lineup and same layout of players as in game number 1.
Yeah, I would expect the same thing. When it comes to spawning positions, do players get to choose which flank they want each other on or not?
Nope, they cannot choose who is up against which flank. They can choose who is going to be the pocket player and who is going to be a flank player, but they cannot choose which of the opponent's flanks they are up against.
Right, okay. So it's pretty random. So you could get a Rus flank up against a Mongol player, and then you got problems. All right, Lytical, I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be back very shortly.
I will do the exact same thing as the players are getting ready for game number 3. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to Pro League Finals. Game number 3, Lipany is coming in. With me is going to be Aussie Drongo for the rest of the finals as well. So let's see if he's back as well. Hello? Hello? Nope. Aussie is not back, but he's going to be here in a matter of moments. Recon with the French, the Muslim with the Rus, and Beast with the Mongols. Same lineup as we had in game number 1. And on the other side, of course, Mista is going to be handling the Mongols, Vortex will be the Rus, and Lucifron is going to be playing the French in Teal. So the very same lineup as we have seen in game number 1. In that game, Vortex's team had the upper hand, but Beast's team definitely had their moments. So when Mista was pushed, Mista did take some losses. We'll have to see if this time around, Beast's team are able to take an open map victory here. And I hear one specific Drongo making it back to the broadcast booth. Am I right about that?
You are indeed. I'm back. Oh, jeez. I don't know how your break was, Liticor, but mine was filled with sunshine and lollipops.
Yep. I'm really hyped. So it's like, it's difficult to just go and take a break in the middle of a set like that. 2-0 so far. However, the first game on the open map, Arabia, that was rather close. You had one big counterattack by Los Pollos Hermanos, and they did a ton of damage to Beast, and it was impossible to recover from. However, it was really something that just came down to one fight. If you think about it, we discussed that the Muslim had a hard time gathering the bounty at the beginning of the game, so he was a little bit behind compared to Vortex. If those things are cleaned up, Beast's team definitely has a good chance of turning this around in game number 3.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. Hopefully it's not another 4-0 or 3-0 or an undefeated run, but yeah, I think it's a little bit of rough around the edges, but every game I've felt that Lucifron, Mista, and Vortex have just been the aggressors. I mean, in the first game they weren't necessarily the aggressors. Actually, I take it back. Yeah, I don't know. How do you outplay 3 of the best players in the world? I mean, you can obviously be 3 of the best players in the world to potentially outplay them, but gosh, it's tough.
Exactly, and this is where we have to highlight that we will have only 1.5 minutes remaining before game number 3. You actually said before this set that you think Beastie and the Straboras will take this home. Do you still think that that's going to be the case? As I said, I probably wouldn't have predicted what happens in game number 1, but after seeing game number 1, I would probably still go with Los Pollos Hermanos. But I think that this is not going to be a 4-0. Beast's team is definitely going to take at least 2 wins if I had to predict.
I feel like Mr. Vortex and Lucifron are very prepared for this. I don't know if they're going to be able to take one off them. It's going to be tough. Yeah, I did say earlier that I thought Beastie and the Strelboras could or would win. Am I regretting what I said earlier? Maybe. It's been a tough run for them so far, but look, they're the underdogs, and the underdogs, they're my favorite, and I'm rooting for them still. So hopefully we'll see the Muslim pull out a beautiful mass of horse archers this game. That's what I've got my money on.
It has to come down to that, because the biggest difference between the two teams in game number 1 was the bounty that the Muslim could start with, and then from that point on, of course, he was a little bit behind when it comes to the horse archer numbers. The other thing that we'll have to look at is if this time around we'll have Mongols versus Mongols on one flank or not. But with that being said, we'll jump into game number 3.
G'day, fellas, and welcome to the third game in the series between these two teams. It is the third game, and it is we're almost onto the match point. The first 2 games, we are not going to spoil the results for you, but you'll be pleased to know that in this third game, Recon is on the French, spawning in as the pocket player. The map is Lipany. His teammate down towards the south, it's Beastie, and up towards the north, he's got the Muslim there. Liticor, who's over on the other side of the map?
We will have in the pocket Vortex playing as the Rus in green. On the left, we'll have Mista playing as the purple Mongols, and on the right, it is Lucifron once again in the flank position with the French. So the same lineup as we have seen in game number 1. For Vortex's team, they will have the Rus player play in the pocket, whereas on the other side, they will have the French player for Recon playing in the pocket position. The big difference, though, I believe, is that this time around, all 3 players are much closer to each other than they are on Arabia. And that obviously could help, making sure that no player gets isolated from the rest of the team, like we have seen to a certain extent in game number 1.
Yeah, one of the other things to note is we have a Mongol mirror on the flanks. So this will be the first time I think these guys are mirrored up. Is that right? Or I might be going crazy? But yes, interestingly, not only do teammates spawn together, but I also feel like you spawn quite close to your enemy on this map as well. Also, one thing to note is that on Lipany, this map is full of little choke points that you'll have to pass your way through. So that can be combined between these the forests as well as these choke points of what are they called? Cliff faces, I think is probably the most appropriate term for them, Lidicore.
Exactly. This makes it a little more difficult to arrive on the battlefield in time, so you need a little bit more team coordination. You can't just run across the map straight away. You sometimes have to go through all of these mazes, and that can slow down someone appearing on the battlefield. Beastie opening up with a pasture right next to his town center, and we are going to see a much more aggressive Dark Age here from the Mista. Usually, he doesn't go for that much Dark Age aggression, but he's going to change things up, and given how exposed that Ovo is from Beastie, this could be fatal to a red player.
Yeah, and interestingly, Mister's got no idea about that. You can see from his perspective, he doesn't actually see this. He is just being very aggressive. He's obviously spotted out the Khan from his opponent, so he knows, he knows what's happening. He knows that it's a Mongol player on his side, but yeah, this is going to be very, very difficult for his opponent Beastie to hold on right here.
And Mista doesn't see the Ovu actually. He has spotted the gold mine, and that's what he's going for. He's missing that Ovu by just a couple of tiles, and really that's the jackpot, not even the gold mine. You can do a ton of damage at the gold mine as well, but that Ovu would be even more valuable to be burnt down.
Yeah, well, my fear at this point is take a look at the gold vein. You can see it's only got 39, 36 in it at the moment, which means that these villagers aren't going to be having a lot of success with regard to aging up. He's actually marching out 5 villagers right now just to try and gather up this gold because he knows how important it is. So a lot of idle time going to be coming out for him here, but he's going to be trying his best to pick up all of that gold that he needs to age up and then potentially be able to drop down that landmark.
And you see the Muslim and Recon are coming in here to try and help out, just buy some time for his teammate to grab that gold. If he can grab that gold, he's gonna be fine. It looks like the Gur is also being pulled. As you said, just enough gold there for Beastie to age up, so crisis averted. Now Mista will focus on that Ovu that he has just spotted, and that's the main target now. Obviously the gold mine is no longer raidable, so he's gonna have to try and burn that down.
Yeah, I'm curious to see whether he animation cancels on the siege here. It makes a lot of sense to do. It's a great way to improve the DPS that you're able to do to buildings. So we'll have to see whether he does that. But he is being distracted quite well by the Muslim scout as well as by the Khan out from Beastie as well. But yeah, it does look like he is going to begin sieging down. You can see him doing the animation cancel. The Muslim reaching the feudal age here. We'll jump on board with him, see exactly what he's up to. He's doing pretty well on the bounty. He's up to 245, about to hit that 250 mark. How is Vortex doing, though?
Oh boy, he's at 540, so history seems to repeat itself because that's a ton of bounty for Vortex. The Muslim had to pull his scouts to help his teammate, and because of that, Vortex had all the time in the world to take down all those huntables, so Vortex has a massive advantage, and this is what I was referring to before this set. Mista is doing such an exceptional job just delaying 2 players that it basically allows the other 2 players to finish the game.
Yeah, this is an impressive job from Mista right here. But yeah, going to continue animation cancelling down. So one of the things to note is that with animation cancelling, for anybody unfamiliar, you'll be familiar with animation cancelling from games like StarCraft or Dota. If you've watched that, you would have seen the Marines as they shoot and then they scoot and then they shoot and then they scoot. This is a little bit different, this animation cancelling, because they're actually reducing the attack speed on their units. So every unit's got a stock standard attack speed when it attacks. So for the Scout, it's 3.75, which means 1 attack every 3.75 seconds. However, if you issue a move command and then issue an attack command immediately after, it will then begin the attack animation again, which subsequently increases DPS by a huge amount. Some units can increase their damage per second by 600% through animation cancelling. So something to be very wary of in these games.
Exactly, and this is one of the most controversial stuff in the game right now. Personally, I really don't like it. On the other hand, as we do have a lot of comments about this one, it's also pretty much impossible to prevent this in a tournament like that, because if you just think about it, especially in the early qualifier rounds, you have 40 sets going on at the same time. There is just no admin on this planet that can supervise 40 sets at the same time to make sure no one is doing it. So at this point, since it's a feature or bug of the game, depending on how you look at it, it is basically something that is allowed because there's no way to make sure that everybody is caught if someone is using it unjustly. So it is something that's unfavorable, I guess, and it's hopefully something that gets fixed in the future, but there is just no way to prevent that being done.
Yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. I feel like it's almost become a point or just a part of the game at this point. Every single player at the high level will use it, unfortunately, and it's just because if you don't use it, then you're just going to get left behind. But speaking of getting left behind, Vortex clicking up to the castle age at 6 minutes 46 seconds. Damn, that is quick. Literally, his teammate has just reached the feudal age and he's already clicked up. That is ludicrous.
That's a really fast feudal age. And with that 565 bounty, of course, fast feudal into a fast castle with so much bounty is quite easy to do for Vortex, but of course, that doesn't actually mean that it's something that can be pulled off easily. It's just the fact that with so much bounty for a high-level player like this one, it is going to be something that he can do nicely and convincingly. Other side though, the Muslim got up to 470 bounty though, so despite that kind of pedestrian start with the bounty gathering, he's up to 470 now, so he's slowly recovering.
Yeah, he did a pretty good job, actually. He had a lot more villagers on that landmark going up to the 3rd age. 16 villagers versus the 10. And he's actually got up to at about 7 minutes 20, so a very nice timing there. Gets up about 15 seconds ahead of Vortex, which means that he's going to be able to beat him when it comes to the Warrior Monk game. Though it does look like he was a little bit delayed in getting his Warrior Monk out. Vortex does appear to be a little bit ahead of him in that regard.
Indeed, we have one knight coming in from Lucifron raiding the lumberjacks of the Muslim right now. That knight is likely going to get taken down by the town center, but it gets one villager kill. So once again, the Rus player in the pocket is being set back a tiny bit. And those small things are piling up right now for the Muslim because Vortex is already up to Castle Age. He is coming in with the relics already. And we're going to see horse archers appearing on the battlefield a tiny bit faster than the yellow player.
Yeah, I think that's the main concern, is that those horse archers are going to be coming out. And it really does sort of become a tempo game with the horse archers in the way that they work, because the larger your mass, the more DPS you're going to be putting out, the more DPS that you're putting out, the more killing that you're doing, and very quickly they begin to add up, especially when you've got that screen in front of you, like the Royal Knight, like the Mangadai, which are out at the moment, or even just those scouts that are so common to see out.
And Beast is going to snap down the Khan of Mista. Now with the support of those knights from Recon and the Mangadai from Beastie, suddenly Mista is under a lot of pressure, but Mista, having that slow feudal age time means that he was gathering a ton of resources in Dark Age, and he's already on the way to Castle. Dark Age pressure into Castle Age is pretty common for Mongols, especially in team games as a flank. Now, as Recon's knights are getting repelled, Mista is getting ready to start adding Lancers.
Yeah, this is where it sort of begins, the pain, because these Lancer timings are really what make the difference. The Lancers in particular, just getting out that early 4, 6, 8 Lancers is really where the Mista shines. And he's going to be looking to take out a lot of villagers from his opponent. Obviously, he's going up against a Mongol player who's also on the flank, and he's clicked up a lot later. So Beastie only going up now with the Step Redoubt. So about a minute, 2 minutes potentially even behind his opponent. And that can really be difficult to deal with, especially if your other two allies are being aggressive at the same time, because it means you're going to be on your own.
Exactly. On the right side, we got Recon pushing up with some of his knights. He has the numbers advantage over here, supported by some scouts from the Muslim. Of course, the main role of those scouts at this point for the Muslim will be just to absorb the charge from Lucifron's knights, and Lucifron is a little bit behind when it comes to knight numbers. Could give a nice window for Recon's team to do some damage, much needed damage, because the Muslim has been taking some damage on his lumberjacks before.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a nice little window right here for Recon and for his teammate Demuslim. As they begin pushing in, you can see them out with their jousts at the moment, trying their best to get in there, but going to be falling in underneath that town center very, very shortly. A lot of villagers out over on the gold mine as well, but take a look. He's got 17 villagers on gold over towards the left. 2 towers already sat down, and a little bit of action in the middle as Mangadai's fighting it out with the horse archers. Not going to have a lot of success there, as we've got multiple raids happening, multiple attacks happening on different fronts.
The Mangadai are trying to link up with Recon's forces right now. Of course, having those Castlage Lancers now out for Mista will absorb a lot of arrow fire. The Muslim still bringing in some of his scouts. He's just now appearing on the battlefield with horse archers though, but he has already gotten 3 relics and the 4th one is just now arriving to his base, as opposed to Vortex grabbing the 3rd one only. So the Muslim, with a bit of an advantage on the relic department, that can start piling up over time. So that's exactly the position you want to be in. Carve out a bit of a lead and then slowly pile it up over time.
I just realized he's got 4 relics in his Abbey of the Trinity. That's not legal. That bug can be a bit frustrating, but it can be a bit rewarding as well sometimes. Yeah, it seems to have rewarded him this time. So he gets to pick up a free relic spot for now. Can delay that monastery. It's a very small thing, but he is doing very well when it comes to his relics.
Exactly. Now we will have horse archers moving in from the Muslim. He's also grabbing the attack upgrade. Recon for now falling back with the knights. As things stand, it looks like everybody is playing one Town Center, so no second Town Center play from Recon, unlike in game number 1.
Yeah, my concern at this point is the Muslim's mass is a little bit underwhelming at this point. If we take a look over at Vortex's perspective, out and about on the map right now, he's got 21 horse archers, 7 scouts out. And compare that to the Muslim, it's not looking as pretty for him. I mean, he's only got 15 horse archers out at the moment. Not that many scouts out. He's only got 6 scouts out on the other hand. But now a couple of scouts for Lucifer are going to be going down here. Ideally wants to keep them alive because they're going to be able to tank up. But back towards the base of Beastie, he's under attack as well. Villagers idle in the town center. A couple of them going to be going down. Going to be losing a couple more on that wood line, unfortunately. So not the best times right now for Beastie.
As you said, a couple of villagers went down over here. He still has good Mangadai numbers, and now he's up to Castlage as well. On the right side, it looks like we're seeing more and more horse archers converging to the left, supported by Knights of Lucifron, and the target is going to be Beastie once again, jumping into the towers. He will save all but one of those villagers.
Yeah, one of those villagers going down. But yeah, this is really the difficult spot, and you can tell, you know, when it comes to the comfort in these team game environments, it definitely feels like the team of Vortex as well as Lucifron, the Mister, definitely a comfortable one. But now we're going to be watching as these fights begin. It might get confusing for you, I assure you. It's not. It's very simple. Follow the primary colors. They're on one team, and then the other 3 colors are on the other team. So you've got yellow, dark blue, and red all up against the purple, the teal, and the green. And they appear to be escaping a nice push, a nice little defense coming in here from Beastie QT and the Strelborers.
That's a very nice counterattack over there. The horse archers arrived just in time, and the knight numbers for Recon are much, much larger. But there is that trade-off that now Lucifron is up to Castle Age, and he's got veteran Royal Knights. So numbers are better for Recon right now, but the quality is less. Of course, as long as he retains these knight numbers and now they're charging towards Mista space, they might still be able to just win this with brute force numbers and do a lot of damage to Mista.
Yeah, there's a lot of units out for them, and they're going to continue pushing through now as those knights begin to make their way to the front line. No veteran status yet on these, and they're going to be doing a great job of screening in here. Going up against the lances of his opponent, we can see that the horse archers are being focused down, so Vortex doing his best to try and focus down the horse archers of his opponent. These guys are the main damage dealer in this situation, and they're doing a really decent job. The Royal Knights are holding on for the French player Recon. He's doing great, Lidicor, at this point, and it looks like we might have a potential upset here to Muslim and Beastie trying their best with Recon, but it does look like they haven't been able to push through at this point in time, and they're going to have to fall back once again.
The lack of Castlage upgrades really started to show for Recon's Knights at the end of that battle, and the other thing was that Mista could reinforce the battle so easily. He's got 4 stables working for him right now, and that is just pumping out Lancers consistently, whereas you see the Lancer numbers are just not there anymore for Beastie. In fact, he's got minimal army on the battlefield right now. He's just now starting to rebuild his Lancer numbers as we speak.
Yeah, he's having a bit of a tough time. With regard to stables, he's got 3 of those stables out. Yeah, he's having a tough time getting those numbers back up. Obviously, he was raided at an earlier point in the game, lost a few villages on the wood line, but was also idle for quite a bit, so that's going to affect him adversely. But at this point in time, do you feel like there is a lead for one team over the other?
It's difficult to say. It is very, very difficult to say because you only have 3 relics for Vortex, whereas the Muslim has 5. So there is that. And now Recon also got up to Castle Age. Recon aged up with the Royal Institute, so he's going to be able to grab Royal Bloodlines, and he's also grabbing Can't Hold Settles. So those two upgrades being there, especially if you also get enlistment incentives and make a castle to support your knight production, that could be a very nice combination, and it could give a massive advantage over the other French player, although this time around, Lucifer also aged up with the Royal Institute, and he's grabbing Royal Bloodlines, so he changed his strategy compared to game number 1, where he went with the Guildhall.
Yeah, a smart move from him. I definitely think Royal Institute in these 3v3s, especially in these high-octane 3v3s, where it's very typical that you're going to be, in playing on these open maps, it's very important to go for that Royal Institute. It just makes such a difference. As you mentioned, it's a huge power spike in the strength of the units, and it just really means that you're able to tank a lot more damage than what you'd normally be able to.
On the left side, Beastie is now slowly crawling up. He's getting some towers up all across the map, and that's going to expand his YAM speed network. Mista tried to do the same thing, but he's gonna be denied, and losing that tower foundation means that there is also some gold and food given to Beastie. On the right side, though, now you have pretty much the same amount of horse archers, but also some veteran royal knights coming in here, and they will have the royal bloodlines upgrade in a matter of seconds. It's something that takes a lot of time to research, but if you time it right, you can have that pop in just before you start taking that fight.
Yeah, Royal Bloodlines is an incredibly important upgrade to have. For anybody unfamiliar with it, it is the unique French Imperial upgrade that increases the health of cavalry. So typically, you've got access to the biology upgrade, which increases the health of your cavalry by 20%. The French actually get Royal Bloodlines, which is 35%. On top of that, because it's a unique technology, by building the Royal Institute, they have access to it in the third age, which is absolutely crazy. Speaking of absolutely crazy, it looks like we've got ourselves a battle on our hands. The players, keep in mind, it's the blue and the yellow going up against the teal, the purple, and the green. And look at the mass coming out with these horse archers. These horse archer masses are very formidable. I'd love to see just even a few mangonels here. Could be really helpful in this situation, Lidicor.
Exactly, especially considering that this is a 3 versus 2 right now. Mista and, of course, Vortex and Lucifron both have their forces in here, whereas you only see 2 players from the Muslims team having army nearby. Horse archers and some lancers out, and of course, those knights from Recon don't have the upgrade yet, whereas Lucifron's ones do. And you see that at this point, Mista is just sending out his knights to kill the eco, while the other 2 players are just finishing off the army of the opponent. The Muslims' eco is now in serious trouble as well.
Yeah, he is getting raided non-stop right now by the Mista. He's having a very difficult time. You can see he's got 17 idols. Only 18 villages remain right now for the Muslim. He is in dire straits at this point. He's got a large army that's out and about on the map, but once again, this team has not been the aggressor in the early game, and it's meant, as a consequence, they've lost their economies as a result.
The Muslim was the punching bag. The good news for them is that in some previous sets, when the Muslim was the punching bag, they actually managed to recover, so maybe there's a glimpse of hope for them, but it's gonna be very difficult because they're heavily outnumbered now. And you see, Beast is just now arriving on the battlefield, but the knight numbers aren't really there for him. That extra Royal Bloodlines HP that is there for Lucifron is just giving them so much tanking ability in front of those horse archers from Vortex.
Yeah, it makes such a huge difference from 230 health up to 310. So an 80 health point difference between those two. And it makes all the difference. It is absolutely crazy how much longer they get to survive, because then that stacks up with the chivalry bonus, which is healing them up constantly. So they survive more often and subsequently they heal up. So it's just a really, really strong upgrade to have. But yeah, this mass from Vortex right now looking very commanding. I'm really scratching my head at this point and wondering if there's any way that the Muslim and his team's able to come back into this, considering he's down to 15 villages. And the Muslim taps out. That's the 3rd game in a row going over to his opponents, Vortex, Lucifron, and the Mista. Lidicor, another great game on this open map.
Vortex's team is just looking absolutely unstoppable right now. They got their foot on that gas pedal, and they are just not letting it out of their hands. Really, really powerful. Their team coordination is just so much on point. Really, the timing of that push once again was just exceptional. The moment you get the upgrade in for Lucifron, they knew exactly that they have that power spike. It's an expensive upgrade, even with the discount that the Royal Institute provides. It's like 500 plus gold. But once you grab that, your power spike will be so big that you can pretty much decide the battle with those knights soaking up all the arrow fire. And from that point on, it was basically a 3 versus 2 on the Muslims' base. And once again, Vortex and Lucifron just fight together. push back the opponent's army, and Mista is just left alone to do whatever he wants. And in that case, it was just sending in his knights to the eco of the Muslim, and the Muslim loses all the villagers out there. If you look at the KD, Vortex with 103 kills, 70 deaths out there. Also, Mista 71-44. So very, very good fights taken. And you see, Lucifron 35-50. It's not spectacular, but of course, his role is not to kill. His role is to soak up that arrow fire.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, really, really well played game once again. Very methodical, but we do see that triple cavalry combination coming out. So if you're watching this and you're wondering, what am I going to do in my team games? Well, mate, cavalry definitely seems to be the primary thing that people are doing. All right, Lidicore. Well, that was the third game. We've got more games coming up this evening, but my fear is that it may be a 4-0 sweep. What do you reckon?
Oh, this is so hard. I really feel like every single game, Beastie's team could have a chance, but I just feel like they're always just reacting to whatever is happening. Because in this game specifically, you could see Mist arriving with the aggression in Dark Age, and it really seemed like they weren't prepared for that. Mista comes in with the scouts, he burns down the Ovu, and regardless of whether or not that was animation canceling, which it was, that Ovu was wide open for raiding, so it made just so much sense to go for that aggression, burn it down. And from that point on, they could play from a great position. Keep in mind that behind this, you had 540 bounty in Dark Age for Vortex versus the Muslims 270, so massive advantage there. Obviously, that helps with your Castle Age timing, and then getting those horse archers out as well. So these small things are just piling on top of each other, and every single game they swing it a tiny bit in the favor of Vortex's team, and they just capitalize on that existing advantage.
Yeah. That's exactly it, isn't it? It's just the tiny little difference that they're able to eke out in that early game, and then it just begins to translate into a much larger sort of difference.
Okay, so now we have a map that we have not seen before. And this is one of those maps where long games are definitely a possibility. We're going to French Pass. I don't think I've ever seen a team game on French Pass before.
French Pass? Oh my gosh. That's scary. That's scary, Lidicore. What are we going to see here? Delhi, potentially? Fast sacred sites again?
Nope, we don't have any Delhi. It's going to be Mirror, Holy Roman Empire, Chinese, and Abbasid Dynasty. Speaking of booming, I feel like
the biggest boom we'll ever see.
Likely. But I think, once again, the Abbasid Dynasty is not just there for booming. It's there for multiple reasons. You can still play aggressive with them, and having that wild card available is always a nice thing to have. And the second thing, of course, is that the Abbasids have one of the best spearmen late game, and that's probably the best answer you can humanly get to the Fire Lancers of Chinese, especially if you play with a Holy Roman Empire teammate, because their spearmen cannot brace. So you need someone that has good spearmen and that is capable of bracing, like the Abbasids.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now that you mentioned it, and after we saw it in the second game, it makes total sense. So I guess my question is, are we going to see a 12-minute wonder? What do you think? Are they going to do like a super sling? It's got to be like the whole, or maybe the Chinese? Oh, I don't even know. Maybe the Holy Roman Empire. Makes sense to do it there because they go fast Imperial, and then they're just going to sling for the fastest wonder possible.
That would be very, very cheesy to play. Although one thing that you have to consider is that this map is very volable. So Wonder countdown is 15 minutes. What happens if you do like a crazy fast team sling into Wonder, and then the other team just bores you into your base at those crossings and goes for a sacred site? So you gotta think about that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good call. Oh, decisions. I reckon you try and aggressively wall and then take the sacred sites. That's what I reckon.
It's a possibility, especially with the HRE, since if you consider the fact that you got the credits already out, the moment you get to Castle Age, you can start taking those. Would it be nice to see Delhi, though? Because Delhi it's not even about the Sacred Site bonus that you're grabbing. I think it's more about the fact that you can have the infantry build stone walls, and that could be immensely valuable on a map like this.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah, it's interesting that they weren't picked up. I would have thought that they would have been, even if you just go for that age 1, the quick age 1 walls and then go into the stone walls. You can also use the compound of the defender as well. So yeah, interesting that it wasn't picked up.
Exactly. We'll take a very short break as the players are getting the 4th game ready. Beastie and the Straboras down 3, and we mentioned this before the set started. Neither of these teams dropped a single game so far in tournament. Of course, Beastie's team is now dropping 3. Is there a chance that Los Pollos Hermanos could win a tournament without losing a single game?
It's possible. It's definitely possible.
All right, we'll be back after a short break. Welcome back, everybody, to AoE4 Pro League. In just a minute, we'll jump into game number 4. Right now, Los Pollos Hermanos with 3-0 on their side versus Beastie and the Straboras. Both Exclusivon and Mist are looking really tough, and if I'm not mistaken, Drongo is back with us. So we'll once again have a little talk here on how he thinks game number 4 is going to unfold. Hello, hello.
Hey. All right. I'm geared up for this game. I've been thinking about it. I reckon we're going to see a fast wonder. I say fast, but it's gonna be before 20 minutes. That's what I'm going with.
It's a possibility. I feel like it's gonna come down to, okay, if there's one team setting up a fast wonder, the opposite team could be expecting that, and maybe they have a reaction to it. And one thing that we shouldn't underestimate is that if you rush up a wonder, one thing is sure, you won't have a ton of army on the field. So there's a lot of interesting aspects of this game. This is gonna be the first time that we're seeing the French pass being played in the tournament. So I'm curious to see how that's gonna go. But with that said, we're jumping into game number 4 right away.
Yeah, a little bit of a wait time here on the loading screen, but I guess we can. I guess we'll wait and just before we introduce it. All right, here we go. G'day, fellas, and welcome to a casted game. Spawning in on the north side of the map, we've got Beastie QT, we've got his Pocket Recon, and up towards the north, we've got the Muslim. On the other side of the map, this is French Pass. Who have we got, Lidicor?
We will have Vortex flying as the purple with the Holy Roman Empire on the right side. Vista as the Abbasids in teal. And down south, Lucifron playing with the Chinese. French Pass with the gold mine spawns being a little weird, as you see, all the way to the right side. And on the left side, it's a little empty. This isn't actually something that favors any team in particular. It's a weird spawn, though. So the right side of this central area is a lot more important than the left side will be.
Yeah, and this is the first time I've ever seen this map in a team game. Obviously, this is French Pass, and yeah, French Pass is known for being a bit of a turtley map. But yeah, interestingly, you spawn very far away from the pass when you are playing in the team game. So it's quite a bit of a walk to get there. But it does seem like it's quite easy to wall this one off. I suspect down towards the south, it should probably be about 2 or 3 relatively small wall segments that should be able to get you a nice wall off there for both teams by the look of it. So that should be fine. And then up towards the north, it's going to be a little bit more of an effort, a bit more of a chore to wall that one in. But definitely still in the equation. Do you think we're going to be seeing some walls out on this map today, Lidicor?
I would definitely think so, but as you said, it's a lot longer wall to make than it is in 1v1, so it's not as easy as in 1v1s to just pull one villager and stonewall it off early. You actually need to put quite a lot of effort into walling this, especially on the right side, as you said. The left side has quite a lot of forests. In fact, they form a very good natural barrier here as we take a look at the hunts. On the left side, you do have 2 very nice patches of huntables for Lucifron, and given the fact that we don't have a Rus player, these deer will live to see another day, that's for sure. Finally, no one is racing to kill them.
I'm sure there'll still be people to kill them very, very soon. Just give it a couple of minutes. The Holy Roman Empire will have to get out on the map, the Abbasid potentially. But I'm curious to know, or curious to see exactly what we're going to be spotting out this early, because Mister, once again, is going for his patented early aggression. He's got 2 spears heading out in tandem together. He's got the scout out early as well. Another spear coming up the rear. I'm curious as to whether we see a villager come up as well with these guys.
Or potentially a Dark Age Rampush. In 1v1, that's a little too risky because if it fails, you're pretty much dead. But if you think about it, with the Abbasids, especially if you can receive some slink from your teammates later, you could potentially use this as a chance to slow down or even knock out one opponent for a long time. And if your recovery is a little faster than your opponent's recovery, then you already won something with it. I also love how Mista donated all of his sheep to his teammate Vortex here. So obviously Vortex in the pocket is going to be very happy with that. And we will have the Spearman marching forward. So far this was undetected by the Muslim, and he has to be very careful because if he gets caught off guard over here, being down 3 games, that could be the end of the story for them.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I will mention, I'm not sure if you know this, Lidicor, but when you send your ally your sheep like this, if they actually murder them or slaughter them without being in their own color, so if they're still in your color, you'll get a little attack sound that goes off. It's quite annoying. I remember the first time it happened to me, I'm like, why am I under attack in my ally's base? And it was because they were killing my sheep.
Well, feels bad. The weird thing is that the villagers don't convert to sheep, and that's just so weird at that point, because you would assume that these green sheep are already converted to purple, and as it seems, Mista is coming in on the gold mine for now. No rams, instead the spearman will catch the Muslim off guard. Luckily for him, he's already going up to feudal age, but this is going to slow down his fast castle, and with that the fast imp as well.
Yeah, not only that, but for the Muslim, highly likely that he wanted to grab professional scouts, and he's not going to have the gold to do it now. He sits on 199 gold, so yet to drop down that mill, but he will have all the resources he needs for it. But this is such a smart move coming out once again from the Mister. Really, I've got to applaud this play, this early aggression, because the way that I explain it is typically when you enter a game, you've got a plan. You know what your civ is. You're like, okay, I'm playing the Holy Roman Empire. You see your enemy civ. Okay, they're playing the Abbasid. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I think they're going to do. But now things have changed. Why? Because they didn't do what you thought they were going to do. They've got spears killing your mining camp. and you're 6 minutes or 5 minutes into the game. And to respond to that now, you need to make an archery range. And it's like, why do I want to make an archery range as the Holy Roman Empire at 5 minutes into the game? I don't want to do that. And it's just like, it is such a smart move from the Mister to do this, because it just puts the opponent on the back foot and it frustrates the hell out of him.
Indeed. He could have used the emergency repairs, in fact, but he probably forgot about it in the heat of the battle. But as you said, the key thing here is that the Muslim didn't want to go for an archery range. As you said, it could have been professional scouts potentially. And the key thing here is that you're slowing down the HRE player. And if you slow down the HRE player, his fast team is going to be much slower. And the slower your fast team, the lower the villager count you will have in mid-game. Because every single second you're late compared to the opponent's Holy Roman Empire player to Imp is going to be amplified because of how fast the Palace of Swabia produces villagers. So basically every 5 seconds you're delayed, you're losing a villager or the HRE player of the opponent, and that is just a massive difference. Beastie also having a villager intercepted here by Lucifer on scouts. The aggression is just
What was this villager
unreal.
going to do? What? I'm curious what this villager was doing. It was out on the flank. I saw the scout pick it up, but it seems maybe going for a bit of a wall or something potentially out here.
I think he may have wanted to go for the corner and go for an Abbasid trade boom. He aged up with the economy wing, but Beast is one of those players that loves to trade early. We have seen that on some maps before as well, especially maps like Danube River. So it's possible he wanted to go up to Gaslight with the trade wing and have a market already set up by that time. For now, he's going to trade off against the scout of the opponent. The aggression from the Spearman has been repelled, but it was a minimal investment for Mista, and you see he's already dropping a second town center, so he's not that much behind compared to the other Abbasid player. If you look at the villager count, it's 26 for Beastie. Mista is at 26 as well, so absolutely no deficit, yet he was able to delay the Muslims so much.
It was such a smart move, really. I absolutely love it out of him. And you're 100% right. He's going for a double early market. Look at this from Beastie. Very, very greedy. So he's going for double town center, double market. And he's telecasting, he's broadcasting this to his enemy as well. He's saying, hey, I'm going ham, so you guys better get ready for me to go ham. And that's what he's doing.
The weird thing here is that knowing that that scout was harassing those villagers for so long, I would have expected him to add 2 more scouts from the town center. Obviously, you sacrifice some vills, but you want to get that trade running, so having 1 or 2 extra scouts come in here to make sure these go up would be vital. He's not grabbing that scout, though. Back on the north, it looks like the Spearmen have finally been cleaned up, and now the Muslim is bringing in the scouts. As you said, professional scouts was part of the plan, but it's just now finishing, so he's so late. Whereas on the other side, if you look at Vortex, he's already in Castlage, so he's moving out for relics with the Ragnis Cathedral, and that's going to give him such a nice edge over the opponent's Holy Roman Empire player.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult to be pushed behind like that. But if we do a quick relic count, we can see down towards the south, there's the 2 relics, or down towards the east of the map. Up towards the north, it looks like the relics are a little bit more favored towards the Beastie QT team, it seems at this point. And there's also 1 relic in the middle. There are only 5 relics on this map, it seems.
1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe.
I can see 5. I can see 1 in the middle, 2 down to the south, and 2 up to the north.
There's 1 in the Cathedral of Vortex already.
Oh, okay.
So maybe he's carrying some back. We'll have to do a tally at that once we have all of those picked up. And it looks like Recon is also adding a couple of traders here. So not only is the Abbasid player going for a trade boom, we're also going to have Recon, despite playing the Song Dynasty Chinese with 2 town centers here, also playing with a couple of traders. He doesn't have a very long distance covered here, but still, it's extra economy being added, and that's always valuable. 135 gold per trip that they returns their investment so fast, and it's going to be added level of economy as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy amount. I think the big thing for me is if he's doing 135 and he's going that far, how much do you think these caravans or these traders are going to be worth for Beastie? It's got to be ridiculous amounts. It's got to be 200 plus easily.
It's around 400. A corner to corner on a 3v3 map is something like 350 or so.
Oh my lord! And keep in mind, he's got access to the trade wing, which can increase up by a further 30%.
Exactly, and that's actually a feudal age technology as well. So that's the brutal thing. It's a rather cheap technology you can access early. It's not even like an imperial age technology. Vololo attempt on the right side by the Muslim, trying to discourage the forces of Lucifron to come in. Another Volvo attempt coming in from the Muslim, but both of those will fail to convert the unit. Although, at least he was able to discourage some of that
Yeah,
aggression.
the first wall of LOL had nobody inside it. I was actually looking at the prelate when it came down, and there was just nobody inside it. So I think it might have been a misclick on that first one. The second one was a little bit closer, but yeah, unfortunately didn't catch anybody in it. But he's got 2 relics going for the Regnitz Cathedral now, so he's going to be happy with that. When it comes to other relics that are out on the map, obviously he's got those ones down to the south that he's scouted out, but other than that, there's not many that are out and about for him.
To be honest, the fact that the Muslim can bring back 2 potentially 3 relics to the Regnitz Cathedral, given how set back he was, is insane. At this point, you have 3 in the Regnitz Cathedral Vortex. He's already in Imperial, though, and he is rushing up a market. Makes me wonder if indeed we're going to see that fast wonder, because one thing is sure, Beast's team building on the trade, they're playing for a late game. So, as you said, going for a fast wonder here with the HRE player could be massive. Vortex banking up a ton of gold already, as Beastie's coming up with the Storm wasn't the right. You can't really let that trade boom come in, though, for Beastie's team if you are Lucifron, Vortex, and the Mista, because, as you said, that's going to be a spectacular amount of gold returned. In fact, that is 338 gold per trip.
That's a lot of gold, isn't it? Oh, and that's only going to get even more. Now, are they going up with the trade wing as well? Let's have a look and see. He's going to be, Beastie going to be clicking up very shortly. 15 villages on gold. He's sitting at 500 gold at the moment, about to hit that 600 mark. Looks like he's just done a little bit of selling. So hopefully going to be clicking up any second. I want to see. I suspect he's probably going to go with the trade wing.
Yep, it's likely that he's going to go with the trade wing, because otherwise, if you go with any other of the wings, then you will just be able to grab the trade wing in Imperial, and that's just too late. You want to have that upgrade in as soon as possible, and indeed, the trade wing is coming in. His eco is going to skyrocket right now. Beastie, with only 570 gold per minute right now, but that's because those traders haven't returned yet. Once they start returning the gold, it could be massive, and Vortex is grabbing relic number 4 already for himself, so he's gonna have a head start over his opponent. There is free as well for the Muslims, so at least his Ragnitz Cathedral is maxed out. He's just now going into Imperial with the Palace of Swabia.
Oh, he did get 3 in there. I'm curious where he got that third one from, but yeah, going to be clicking up with the Palace of Swabia, so keeping in mind that his opponent has been in Imperial for quite some time now, the Palace of Swabia for him going down, quite a while ago. But University coming out as well for Vortex. And have a look at all the villagers that are queued up inside the Palace of Swabia right now for Vortex. There's just so many of them. But he's essentially doing a 5 TC boom with that, isn't he?
It is very possible. At this point, Vortex is sitting at 71 villagers, and on the other side, the Muslim is at 41. That's the difference that you're getting from that imp difference. And now, bit of a scuffle in the middle, as Vortex will keep his prelate alive over here with the support of Lucifron. They are going for those sacred sites, and in the middle, Lucifron is already setting up stables. He's ready to start pumping out Fire Lancers to this central area, and if they grab both sacred sites, it doesn't matter if Beast's team goes for Wonder, because the sacred sites will win them the game a lot faster.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty smart move to be going and looking to secure these sacred sites early. One of the things I've been keeping an eye on is just the income per minute. I just want to see if anybody's mining any stone, because I think that's going to be a good indicator if people are planning to go for any sort of wonder plays. So we'll have to keep an eye out and see. I might actually switch it over to current resources. You can see that people are starting to stack up resources as well. Both Lucifron and the Muslim having plenty of resources in the bank at the moment.
Exactly, especially the Muslim is the one that's banking up a lot. The only player mining stone right now is Beastie. Vortex also adding a couple of stone miners. Beastie, now that the traders are coming in, suddenly his gold income per minute is rising like crazy. Soon he's gonna have the best. Fire Lancers hitting the field on the right side for Lucifron. They are still Castle Age units, so they're not as powerful as they could possibly be. Sometimes you see the Chinese player waiting until Imperial with the Fire Lancers, but this time around he wants to be a little more aggressive, and that is because Vortex already has Bombards out, and we also see some Spearmen arriving from Mista. The Muslims team doesn't have a ton of army to fight this right now.
Yeah, just a couple of scouts coming out to say g'day, greet them, and unfortunately they get one shot by the bombarders. It turns around and says goodbye to them. But yeah, Vortex pushing up now with plenty of barracks, and it almost seems like Beastie's team has committed a little bit aggressively to the booming play. Have a look at all the markets that are going up here towards the north as well. Triple market coming in for the Muslim. Double market again for Recon up here as well. Keeping in mind he did have that initial market that he made. He's still got those guys going as well. But my fear at this point is there's a lot of tempo in the favor of Vortex in with Lucifron and the Mister as well. And they are going to be pushing their agenda up here towards the north.
And this is danger on this map. If you don't boom, your opponent will just outboom you. But if you go too heavy on the eco department, suddenly your opponent could appear with a bunch of units. And on this map, you're not really forced to make units early on, so you might be completely without an army, and the Fire Lancers just hit the field. Men-at-Arms still lacking a lot of upgrades here for the Muslim, and you already have some bombards crawling up. Abbasid infantry could make siege here. Unless we see some units appearing on the battlefield soon from our yellow and blue players, the Muslim could be in serious trouble here.
Yeah, this is not looking good, Lidakor. Especially now that the Bombards have begun sieging down the production of the Muslim as well. He's up to the Imperial Age, but you've really got to start asking the question, well, what's he going to be able to do in the Imperial Age if he doesn't have any barracks? And he's put them all out the front as well here. Really easy to get access to. Only one layer of stone walls went up, and I mentioned earlier in the game, I said you can wall down in the south very easily with just a few segments, but up towards the north, it's going to require a lot more effort, and that definitely seems to be the case. And now the villagers are out. They're going to be looking to siege down, or throw, rather, their torches at these Springles as well as the Bombards, but the elite men-at-arms have got their heavy maces out, and they are whacking away, having an absolute field day.
And at this point, the Muslim is just desperately trying to buy himself some time. But as you said, there's already fully upgraded men-at-arms coming in here from Vortex. Fire Lancers on the way as well. And you see, Vortex is the only player in Imperial, because he needs the Bombards. The other two are going for full Castle Age pressure, and it really feels like the Muslims team wasn't expecting that, because it is just going to be a full Castle Age unit for the Fire Lancers, and of course the Spearmen and the Men-at-Arms from the Mista. The Muslim could be in serious trouble here.
And not just a Muslim. Take a look at the Fire Lancers right now that are around the base of Recon at the moment. They are sieging down landmarks. They've already taken out a stable. There's also, up towards the back on the trade line, multiple Fire Lancers that have already taken out traders. A single Fire Lancer does remain. It's going to get cleaned up now, but they are in the base. They are in the supply line, the trade line, and they are beginning to push in on their opponents and really look to put a nail in a coffin here.
That is just brutal. I really feel like throughout this set, the strategy advantage seemed to be on the side of Mista's team, because they always seem to do something that their opponents did not expect. This game, it was the couple of Spearmen from Mista coming in to do damage, followed up by a full Castle Age pressure, really only having one player in Imp so that he can have Bombards. Such a clever idea here, because this way, you can just spend all of your resources on army, and that's exactly what we're seeing. The Muslim's base is getting overrun. He's pulling everybody to try and take down those Bombards. But with all the infantry and cavalry coming in, it's going to be impossible to take those down. The Fire Lancers are about to charge in on those villas as well.
Yeah, those poor villagers are about to get absolutely shredded. Bombard's doing a great job microing down. We see a Prelate actually coming out with a relic. It looks like it might actually get picked off before it gets the chance to scream its famous last words. Is it going to get it off? It doesn't look like it. He's reallocated or changed the direction. But unfortunately, it does go down. But it is not looking pretty right now for the team. And the Muslim taps out. That is it. It is a 4-0. It is a clean sweep. It is an undefeated team right now. Lucifron, the Mister, and their final teammate, Vortex.
That is just unbelievable. And make no mistake, Beastie's team was completely undefeated before this set in the entire tournament, so it really much seemed like this is gonna be a battle for ages, but Vortex's team always was able to bring something that their opponents didn't expect. Starting off from game number 3, probably, where we could just see Mista coming in with the aggression. They didn't really expect that, did a lot of damage to the Mongol player, but this game in particular just showed what their playstyle is. Once again, Mista just doing his own thing here, bringing a couple of spearmen, delaying the Muslim a lot. And if you look at the villager graph, it tells you how much damage he caused. Compare the villager counts of Vortex to the ones of the Muslim. That is how much Mista was able to delay his opponent. There was like steady 20-25 villagers gap between the two players, caused by 3 spearmen of Mista. And that is just such a big advantage that you can build on. And we discussed that in previous games as well, that they are just so good when it comes to building on that already existing lead. And Mista just guaranteed that they do have that existing lead for them going on.
Yeah, it was an impressive delay tactic that Mista used. barely even punished him. I think he was up maybe about a minute later than what you'd normally expect. And yeah, you can just see the difference in the villager count right there between Muslim and Vortex. It's absolutely huge. Looks to be about 30 villagers by the time they reach their respective peaks. But yeah, what a demonstration. I thought that we might have seen a sub 20 minutes wonder coming out, but it turns out that we just saw a sub 20-minute defeat coming in instead. So very nice timing push coming out there from Vortex, Lucifron, and the Mister. Tell me, Liticor, did you expect it to be over in a clean sweep? I mean, both teams were coming into this undefeated. Did you think that there would still be one team undefeated at the end of the day?
No, absolutely not. I expected this one to be a 4-3. At the beginning of the set, I said 50-48% are the chances between Los Pollos Hermanos and Beast and Straboras. And this is just brutal, especially considering that before the tournament, the team of Vortex played a show match versus Hera, Kaposh, and Marine Lord, and they got swept. It was a 3-0, super dominant set by Hera's team. So I was like, ooh, this is a little concerning for them, because while they do have a great lineup of players, that was a pretty ugly defeat. Of course, it's only a show match, but still, you didn't necessarily expect them to sweep the entire tournament, not losing a single game. Absolute brutal domination.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. Well, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you check out Liticor's channel, because he's got plenty of content like this. He was the host of the Pro League. Liticor, it's been an absolutely amazing tournament, so thank you very much for putting on the show for everybody.
Oh, it was my pleasure. We had some spectacular games going on. Obviously, it would have been very fun to see some closer matches as well in the grand finals, but this is what happens when you have an insanely strong team out there. But before we go away, we do have an interview with the winners, so hang tight, because you'll be able to ask some questions as well to the players. So hold on for a brief moment while we set up the interview with the winners. I'm pretty sure that you have some questions as well to Vortex's team.
Yes, definitely.
Ramp.
All right, you've got the interview room. Liticor, I'm going to leave you here. I must go to bed, but thank you for inviting me. It's been an absolute pleasure casting with you today.
It was a great pleasure as well, especially because you stepped in last minute. That's something that the audience doesn't know, that you stepped in. We had a different plan, because we talked with Drongo before the event, and he was like, oh, I'm leaving for the weekend, so I'm not going to be available. And I was like, oh, that's unfortunate, but obviously understandable. So I'm going to be I'm going to arrange some other people. And then turns out there were some change of plans, and suddenly I was left without the co-caster, and 20 minutes before the broadcast, Drongo messages me I'm back! So it was really a last-minute appearance from you, so I really appreciate you stepping in here today.
That worked out very well. Well, you enjoy your interview, and once again, thank you for the beautiful host of the tournament. It was absolutely awesome, and looking forward to many more.
All right, take care, and good night for you.
See you, Liticor.
All right, we're gonna have the players having a bit of a chit chat over here about this massive domination. All right, hello everybody. Huge 4-0 win here, congratulations. Did you expect to win this convincingly?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we've been feeling more and more confident as the tournament advanced. We were able many times to realize our weakness, and we were polishing them as the tournament went through. That I think today we were actually feeling quite confident, right? All of us. I don't know about the others, but I was feeling quite confident coming to the tournament today.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially after our night's talk. Yesterday night, we had a conversation, and we pretty much polished all the builds for all the maps.
Yes, especially I feel that we were the weakest during the tournament in Danube River. And yesterday, we were just talking, and we kind of figured out what we think is the best way to play on that map. Yeah, we won that map that was probably the hardest, but towards the tournament. But yeah, I think our build was just really good and kind of countered the way they had been playing that map the whole tournament with like the trade and very economic boom and so on, like by winning the Imperial race. And overall, we were confident and we had a solid plan for all the maps.
Of course, you never expect to beat 4-0 players as good as the Muslim, Misty, and Recon, but I don't know. I think we were just feeling really confident, and that showed in the games.
So going back into the open map games, Arabia and Lipony, one thing that was really a standout thing for me is that every game it really felt like Mista was just tasked with the responsibility of delaying 1 or 2 players, and then Vortex and Lucifron just come in and finish the game. That was the strategy the whole time, so you're always gonna have Mista do his own thing, and he's just doing it so well that he's able to delay multiple players, and then the two of you will just finish the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the composition of Knight and Horse Archers is really, really good. So if you have those two guys moving together, they can take out pretty much any army. And then Mongol is really good at doing his thing as well, right? Getting villagers here and there, maybe getting some bounties. So, I mean, we were playing with the flow, honestly. Like, that was not like a plan that we set up in stone, but it's just, I guess it's probably the better in open maps like that.
You had a bunch of very unique strategies coming in here, because that was probably the thing that elevated you over the competition in here, coming in with just so much unexpected stuff. Game number 4, for example, moving in with a couple of spearmen. How much time did it take you to figure out all these strategies, all these lineups? Is it something that just came a couple of minutes before the game, or as the game went, or as the series went? Or did you have 5, 6, 7 of these different lineups already thought over before the set, knowing that you're going to use these strategies here?
Every weird opening, I was mostly the one who was doing the weird openings, and I remember specifically, when I started doing this Barak opening like 2 series ago, I was just in the toilet. I was like taking a break before we start the next game, and I was like, I should do this. Like this should work. Like they would not expect something like this. And especially in the last game where I decided, and even in the third game where I went for stable first, I was like, Beastie has never seen me opening a stable. Like, if I open a stable, he will not expect it. And in the last game, I just went for a Barak to be annoying, because I knew that if I open it with a Barak, I can do some damage, because they would never expect the Abbasid player to open with a Barak on this map. And it worked quite well in both games.
Yeah, and yesterday as well, because we were kind of analyzing our games and realizing that Noob was our worst map, and then we came across with this feeding strategy where you get the Holy Roman to Imperial in like 9 minutes or something, and then you control the water so easily. So I think our strategies were like really, really polished for today.
So basically, we were able to hit those timings because I would feed Vortex, the HRE player, with food. I would go 40 Cs, and because I don't need much food to keep making villagers, I would send food, and the Chinese player would send like some gold and some wood in order for the HRE player to get all the upgrades as soon as he gets into Imperial, and he would get Imperial like 9 minutes, 9:30.
Looking at the entire tournament, just an absolute spectacular show of force. You didn't drop a single game in the entire tournament. Is this something that you would have expected going into this tournament?
Well,
Go ahead.
if you think our first series as a team, it was against Ira, Marine Lord, and Kapos, and we lost 3-0 in those games. So we had a good, like, it was not bad losing those games, because we could clearly see what we need to improve, and we just kept improving game after game after game.
Yeah, like for that series, we had like never played a single match nor talk about the strategy, so it was really the first thing we played. And I think losing 3-0 made us realize that we couldn't just rely on our like 1v1 level and just play whatever, but that instead we had to come up with a strategy and with a plan for the games. And I think in a way that loss was probably very good for us coming up into this tournament, because for one, I think the strategy they played against us with English in open maps, I don't think it's that strong. But since they were winning every single game, they stood with that. And on the other hand, we realized like the things we needed to work and what we had to do in order to play the actual tournament better.
It's kind of funny to think the first 3 games we played together, we lost them, and then we haven't lost a single game since then.
Exactly. I was about to ask you because indeed you played that show match, and I looked at the results. I was like, "Oh, 3-0. That's rough." And then you come into the tournament and just sweep everybody, including teams that defeated Hera's team in the tournament. So it's just an absolutely crazy performance. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today here, and massive congratulations. I don't think I've ever seen an H1 tournament, team game or 1v1, where the winner did not drop a single game. And you went through everything, so every single team had to qualify. It's not just you started in the top 8 or so. You had to go through teams, and not a single time did you lose a game. If there was a team game tournament in the future, of course, I assume that you guys would be very happy to team up together again.
Definitely.
Yeah,
For sure.
All right, congratulations, guys. Enjoy your win here. Very well played.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you
you.
very much.
And with that, AoE4 Pro League comes to an end. Just as a reminder, you can rewatch everything on YouTube as well. The series are going to be uploaded. Thank you so much, everybody, for all the support during the event. I am fully aware that some teams aren't necessarily as polished as it is, but this is just the usual way when you do things first. So this was the first team game tournament. There were a lot of unexpected things, a lot of things that still are yet to be polished. Obviously, there are some elements of the game that are controversial and stuff like that, but we did our best to make sure that the tournament can run in a good fashion. We've seen some spectacular games, we've seen some great teams going on, and I'm really hopeful that many of you are seeing the entertainment value in team games. And as much as 1v1 tournaments are right now dominating the scene, team game tournaments, as you see, can be super fun as well. So hopefully we're going to have some team game tournaments in the future as well. It's a different style of gameplay. In 1v1s, it's more about analyzing what's going on. It's more about the individual momentum of each player, strategy choices, whereas in team games, it comes down to just these massive battles, timings, and stuff like that. It's a completely different way to look at the game and play the game, but I really hope that many of you have enjoyed this one, because I am really hopeful that in the future we'll have some more team game events coming in. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. This was AoE4 Pro League, the first AoE4 team game tournament, hopefully not the last.